Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and I am battling a little bit of the sniffles here. So if you see my nose bright up red like Rudolph, it's because, well, I just can't stop sniffling. Good to have you here. Mike Martin is here. We're going to talk about astral projection and portals. I love portals. Oh, I'm excited about this one. Dirty Filth is here as well to draw another cartoon, and the best part about it all, we have you guys as well. We got SJ in the gold medal position, Race Fan with a silver, Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing a bronze medal tonight. Hi, SJ, Tim Mothman and his goatee, the lovely and talented Kira, Laura Lobbs, Shane period Dot, who still won't cheer for the Oilers as they go into Edmonton. Look at the message he sends me. Just rude. Absolutely rude. Robert Lamoth, thanks for coming on in. Deidre, how are you? Spirit Hub, good to see you. And W. Decker, how you doing? Paula Fost, Tim in the Backwoods, thank you for coming on in. Anna Boline is here. Anna will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, that is, to the left of the studio. Michael Fontaine, Sasquatch Gee, purple-haired Pixie Lara. Good to see you all. Chris with a K, how are you? As we continue on with our roll call, there's Human Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. We love you around here. Number 41 in your program, starting in goal tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Mama Susan, Richard Steele, how you guys doing? Thomas Rock, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. There's Brown Dwarf. Brown Dwarf will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Richard Elmore, thank you for joining us. Millennium, my man. Operation Shutdown. Mama Catherine, mwah! I love you, my dear. I hope you had a wonderful Monday. I really do. Sandra Kincaid, thank you for coming on in. Good to see you again. And there's Al Garay over on Twitch. He did 286 sit-ups in 26 seconds. Hard to believe, but he did it. Skip to Malou, good morning. Cosmic Joe, Christine Lynn, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. T-Bone, my man, how are you? Good to have you back. Phil the Stalker, good to have you here. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Hi, Stargazer. Johnny Tex, welcome to SOR Chat. Hi, Lex Diaz, W. David Page. Good to see you all. As we continue on with our roll call here, we have Ozzy. Good to see you. The lovely Nikki Williams. Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Destiny Rocks. Phineas over on X. Good to see you, my man. Thank you for joining us. All right. Warden Dragon. Good to have you here. S. Ferment. Thank you for cheering on the Oilers as we continue on with roll call here. And there's Vanessa. Thank you for coming on in. And let's see here. Where are we? Scrolling on down. Susan Alloway. Good to see you. Hi, Digger Dog. And Paul Demon. Good to have you here. Florida at 6. Come on. Edmonton in 6. Florida has 2 players. We shut them down. It's series over because their goaltending is going to collapse like he normally does. Yep. Let's see here. Renee Cruz. Thank you for joining us. And Matthew Gutka. Good to see you. Blue Cruz, nice to have you here. Crystal J, thank you for coming on in. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for taking the time to tune us in. We get into portals, astral projection, astral travel. Mike Martin is here to talk about it all as we are in roll call right now. And there's Bill WD-40 lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, people. You don't want that rigidness. You need that smoothness in order to make a show run smoothly. Yeah, it's that simple. Smooth to smoothest. So we appreciate Bill for lubing us up as per usual. Javier, how you doing, buddy? How's the 559 doing? And who else is here? Ginger Turtle. And how you doing? And we got about 30 seconds here. So, yep, Bill WD-40 lubing us up right now. Rain, nice to see you. Don't forget the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Hi, Nina Williams. Good to see you. And our store is open on our website. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You're going to want to get some of that stuff so you can wear it out in public. Do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. Thank you for tuning us on in. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a fantastic show for you tonight. We're going in a different direction. Portals, astral travel. What's it like to leave the body? We'll hear from Michael Martin here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing has another creepy story. Courtney returns for UFO Court and the latest UFO news. All right, let's get right to this one tonight. Mike Martin has been using portals, which were introduced to him over 30 years ago, while studying astral projection and lucid dreaming. Today, he utilizes these experiences to explain the manipulative infrastructure that surrounds us and his plans to unravel hierarchy. He also has a book that you can find on Amazon, My Dark Explorations, Portals, Gateways, Astral, which can be found on Amazon as we speak. Michael Martin, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you here for the first time.
Well, thank you for having me, Dave.
How did you get into all of this? Because this is a subject, I mean, we have the woo, and then we have portals, astral travel, out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming. How did this happen, my man?
Well, my intention was never based on portals or anything. That never crossed my mind. Apparently when I was a kid, I was having astral projections. I didn't know what it was. I didn't correlate that until I had my first controlled experience back in the late 80s, actually. I found a Time Life book series called Mysteries of the Unknown, and one of the sections had astral projection, out-of-body experiences. So I saw the book from Robert Monroe called Journeys Out of the Body, and I went and got the library and got it, and I read through it, and I said, I'm going to do this. And so I went through the process of, trying the different techniques that he showed in the book, which none of them seemed to really work for me. But then there was another technique about realize you're dreaming, which is basically lucid dreaming, become conscious within the dream. And I said, that's going to be my route. I'm going to try that. So what I did was, because this is the early 90s, I set my watch and I said, okay, 50 times during the day, how many ever times I got to do it. I set my alarm. When my alarm goes off, I look at something like a chair or a person or whatever, and I ask myself, am I dreaming? Then I turn my head turn back and look at the object again. If nothing has changed, then I knew I wasn't dreaming, because in the dream state, if you turn away and look at it again, things are always continually changing. So I kept doing that over and over every day for 11 months until I was finally successful at having a controlled out-of-body experience. One night, something triggered me in the dream. I realized I was dreaming. I told myself in the dream that I want to have an out-of-body experience. And then I was pulled out of my body, out of the dream. And then on the side of my house, I was hovering over the side of my house. There's my vehicles were there. It was in the winter. It was a cold winter night, but I wasn't cold, but I knew it was cold outside. I could feel myself outside, and I could feel my body in bed. So what I did at that point, I said, I want to take all the input I can get out of this in case this is the last time this happens. So I took note of everything. I first realized that my peripheral vision was almost 360 degrees. That's the first thing you'll notice, is you've got this super wide vision. You can see so much. And then also, like I said, you realize that you're simultaneously in more than one place. You're in bed as well as being in that spot. And this lasted maybe, I don't know, a couple of minutes at the most. And I was whisked back in bed. And then at that point, because I was taking dream logs, I'd been doing it for a couple of years before that. I was logging all my dreams. Therefore, I was pretty competent about remembering everything that I dreamed, because I'd wake up in the middle of the night, write down notes, and I just kept doing it over and over for years. So I wrote all my information down. I kept track of all my dreams. And then after a couple more months, it took me to have my second lucid experience in the dream, where I became conscious. I realized I was dreaming. And then right before I told myself that I was going to have an out-of-body experience, I was whisked out of the dream. I'm in bed, lying on my side with my eyes still closed. So I'm fully awake. My eyes just aren't open. And I'm thinking, wow, this is kind of weird. And there's this oval shape in my vision. So, and I would compare it to like an astral vision. Your astral vision is very wide. So when my eyes were closed, I'm laying in bed, I can see this portal image. And it was probably similar to me sitting in front of a TV that was maybe a 200-inch flat screen. I'm a couple feet away from it. And there's this oval image in the middle of the black screen. And it looked like it had been punched through the black background. But this was a live viewing. It was an aerial view of a city by the water, but the buildings didn't look like anything I've ever seen before. And I knew it was a live view because I could see the water moving and I could see lights flashing and different things happening, almost like somebody had a camera overseeing this, and somehow I was seeing it. But around the oval portal was a border of sorts that was the same shape as the portal. And there was writing in there, but the writing was something that I had never seen before. It was a mixture of hieroglyphics, maybe some of the old Celtic language, and some of they actually looked a little three-dimensional on some of them. So there was a mixture of things that I could say, oh yeah, it kind of looked like this, but they all kind of mixed together. So it wasn't a language that I would ever be able to figure out. So I'm laying there, I'm trying to decipher what's happening. I know I'm not in the astral. I know I'm awake. I could move my fingers and my toes, because you can't do that when you're out of body. You can't move any body parts. So I'm looking at it, trying to decipher what, this lettering means, what else is going on. I don't have a photographic memory, so I can't just verbatim write something down after I get out of this if I've never seen it before. This lasted about 45, 50 seconds, and then it eventually faded away. It kind of pixelated and faded away. I didn't know what it was called. I had no idea what it was. I wrote it in my dream log as a viewing, and I started having those every time I would become lucid in a dream, which was at the time maybe once every month or so. I would be, this portal image would be there, but every time it was something different. It might be a landscape, and then after the second or third one, instead of being that oval image, it was my full peripheral vision with my eyes closed. So it takes my whole viewing up. And these have been happening now for, 33 years now, 34 years. And sometimes they happen a little bit more and sometimes less. And I didn't discover what they were actually portals until I discovered a different way to access them through the daydream state instead of waiting at night for the dream state. And I called those glimpses. So there's a lot to fill in between there. But from what I can say is, it's not only seeing places, I also get to the point where I'm seeing things and I don't understand why this is happening. And I document everything, and I've been doing it forever. And I finally figured out that I was seeing through the eyes of other people. And so it's sometimes the people aren't alive, sometimes they are alive. And I believe sometimes they are maybe have dementia and they're just kind of sitting there. So there's so many scenarios that I run into. I really don't know where I'm going to end up. So I just document everything. And then sometimes I'm able to put together enough information so I can make sense of certain instances. But all of the portal connections last anywhere in between 10 seconds and maybe 50 seconds. I discovered that during this process, it does consume energy from me. So if I have one of them one night and then I have another one the second night, the second one will be about half the length. And the visual image, instead of maybe 4K, will be maybe half that image quality. And then if I have a third one, it'll be half the time and then half of that image quality. So they begin to degrade if I have too many in a short amount of time. And if I wait a week, then things would become much better again. I did discover in the beginning, after having so many of them, that I'm not the one who initiated them in the first place. There's a third party. I don't know who the third party is. And that's the only way that I could have originally done it, because I don't have the energy to do a lot of the things that this third party has enacted. So I've been studying these for, like I said, over 30 years, documenting everything. And at some point I was able to duplicate the process. And that's what I've been working on, is basically communicating with other beings in other realities. And there's just like a myriad of avenues or paths we can go on from there.
The fact that you were having these experiences your entire life and decided to really explore what it was all about, how did you know whether or not you were doing it correctly and whether or not it was safe to do?
Well, when I first got into, I first took an interest in the out-of-body experiences, as in my early 20s, because I hadn't correlated. After I'd had my first one, I realized when I was a kid, I remembered having them, and I'm like, okay, this is what was happening. When I discussed it with my wife, she was really concerned. She said, "Oh, what if somebody, crawls in your body while you're out of your body?" And just a whole lot of things. I mean, we were young, and she wasn't into any of this. And for me, I wasn't frightened and I wasn't concerned at all whatsoever. I mean, I figured if this was going to happen to me when I was younger, and these were uncontrolled, me controlling it is a different story. But I don't know, for some reason, I never questioned that. I never felt, and through all the experiences I've had, I've never had any really negative aspect of it. I've never had anything that's threatened me, other than the dream state. Dream state's a different story. But I've never had any bad experiences. I've never had anything that's threatened me, or, it's for me, that just wasn't a question.
Have you ever felt danger or, wonderment whether or not you could get back in your body?
No, I never had that. I never had the issue. There's a cord that can see. We have three bodies. We have a physical body, we have a spirit body, which is on the astral plane, and then we have a soul, which is on the mental plane. So we have three bodies, and they're all connected in some way by either a cord or a fine line. So they're all in connection. And so our physical body is always on the physical plane. Our astral body or spirit body is always on the astral plane. It's always there. It vibrates at that frequency. And then our soul is on the mental plane. It vibrates on that frequency. The only difference is when someone has an astral projection, means that spirit body has to detach from the physical body. It's already on the astral plane, so it just detaches and it can move. Now that happens in your dreams a lot. So subconsciously, that's controlling it, and you don't really remember much because you're not in, your consciousness isn't there. But when you have an out-of-body experience, you have a conscious connection. So your consciousness leaves your physical body and attaches to your astral body, and that's how you can be completely aware of what's happening. And if you want to be aware of what's on the mental plane, then when your soul detaches into the mental plane, then your consciousness moves onto your soul. So your consciousness determines if you're awake and aware of what's happening in one of those bodies. And it's a switch. They have to disconnect from the body, and then your consciousness has to do the same thing. So there's a simultaneous switch from one to another. And so what I'm doing is when I'm lucid in a dream, then my consciousness comes attached to my astral. And at that point, I'm fully aware. So I feel like I'm there. And then when I come back, when the spirit body reattaches to the physical body, then my consciousness is there back into my physical body, and therefore I can animate it. So there's a little bit of changes that need to happen, but naturally our astral body detaches at night all the time when we're dreaming. We're just not aware of it because, like I said, it's your subconscious is in control of that, and your subconscious doesn't really do a good job at communicating with your consciousness. It's kind of a battle is what it is. So our job, or my job, is to, and when I have these portals, my consciousness has to stay awake in that state that I'm in. When I come out of the dream state and I'm back in my regular body, my consciousness is there and I can see those portals. The other way that I found to connect to the portals is through what I call glimpses, and it's in my book. What happened was I was driving to work. It was an hour commute at least each way every day. And so I'm sitting there daydreaming constantly. And one day, about, 13 years ago, I realized there's something there in the dream, in that dream state. I knew that there was a conversation going on, but I couldn't remember what it was. I knew I was getting information, but I couldn't access it. So I worked for about a year on it, off and on, trying. And I got to the point where I could move my consciousness into that state when it was occurring, when those drifts were occurring. And then I was able to bring that information back through what they call the veil. It's a very highly insulated, corrosive connection. It's an insulator in between us and other realities. And to be able to come back through there with information is like bringing a hard drive through a magnetic field. It just swipes everything out. And the only way that you can get your consciousness to come back with information is to really work hard at it and to be diligent about it. And I'm just the type of person that doesn't give up. So once I set my mind to something, I'm just going to succeed at it. And I just find a way to do it. That's just kind of how I am. So once I determined how to do that, then I duplicated it over and over. And what I determined was, because I was told on the other side, what happens is I go to that daydream state, my consciousness is there. So it's like I'm there physically. I can feel my physical body, but I know I'm there physically. Consciously. I'm sitting there, I'm getting information, and then I bring it back. So basically, I'm able to take my consciousness through these portals to another reality or another dimension, get information, and bring it back. And I was told by several beings on the other side that they said, these are portals and we can show you how to keep them open. And then that was a total red flag for me. I'm like, no, we're not keeping them open. And through the years, I've realized there's a high level of manipulation no matter where you go, because it doesn't matter if you're a human or you're another being somewhere else. Every being has their own agenda, and they're no different. You wouldn't trust a stranger on the street, so I don't trust anybody anywhere. I take in the information. I don't make any decisions based upon that. I document it. And when I come back with enough other information, experiences to weigh that, then I'll make a determination on what I get. But the information I normally get is not based upon anything that we can utilize as, like, free energy or anything of that nature. It reminds me of what a lot of the psychics call spirit guides. And what these spirit guides do, and they're not all spirit guides. Spirit guides can be anything on the astral or any other plane. What they are is they're beings. And when they see you or meet you, the first thing they want to do is they want you to follow them, and they're going to give you information, and that information is what they feed you. And most of it is not even worth hearing because it's just generalized junk. And what they'll do is they want you to follow them so that you'll fulfill their agenda. Because here we are on Earth, we're basically in a prison. And when you go on the astral is basically the prison yard. The warden is still in charge of the prison yard, and all the beings that you see in the astral are no more than guards that portray themselves as angels or demons or whatever have you, because they base their own images and the landscape on what you expect to see. So they can manipulate on many levels things that you don't realize because we're not in control of what they're in control of. So it's a very integral system built upon many levels of manipulation. And I've seen it. And what they do is they will tell you what you want to hear. So there's not like it's more like the carrot and stick. If they'll give you information, and if you don't really absorb it or don't go along with it, then they begin to get a little irritated. And they will not actually crowd around you. It's like going to the pyramids. You go to the pyramids the first time, all of the guides are going to come around you and they're going to want to sell you their service. Well, if you decide, hey, I just want to do things on my own, you walk away from them, then they're not going to take much of an interest in you because you're not going to benefit them whatsoever. So what we're doing here is being manipulated at different levels, whether it be on the astral or whether it be on the physical. We have things that are going to tell us what we want to hear, but not once have we ever heard anything that is going to really benefit us as humanity or benefit us in any way, shape, or form. They're going to tell you what you think you want to hear. And we have these Akashic records, is what they call them. What it is it's an etherical database, and ether is based, it builds the whole astral plane, and ether also builds a lot of the solid objects and objects we have here. And those beings have access to that database. So when you show up, Joe Schmo, and you're like brand new, and they come up to you, they already know what you want because they read the database. And the database has every action, thought, and audio of everything that you've had. So they can experience what you've experienced as much as you've experienced it.
We got just under a minute to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Mike Martin talking about out-of-body experiences, astral projection, and much more. Mike, I need a 45-second answer here. Why do this?
The end game. The end game for me, find a way out.
Find a way out of what?
Find a way out of the recycling that we do. We're here, we live a life, we die, we come back, we live a life, we die, we come back.
Well, I guess that's one way to do it. Try and figure it on out, right? In the end, that's what we need. Mike, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Mike Martin continues to talk astral projection, out-of-body experiences. His book, My Dark Explorations, Portals, Gateways, Astral, can be found on Amazon right now. So make sure you add that to your collection as we speak. My name is Dave Scott. This is Spaced Out Radio. We're having a great time tonight. I hope you are too. Let's see how we can fly out of our body right after this with Michael Martin. We'll be right back, everybody. All right, my man, we are clear. Thank you. Let me, I accidentally put you on mute. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fun time so far.
Oh, yeah. There's always something.
Oh, man. I've astral traveled before.
Have you?
It's a weird experience, man. Weird experience.
It's I don't know. I think I've done so many things. You don't seem to be as I don't know, in awe of it as much over the years.
Right.
I think you tend to appreciate it more rather than just being in awe of it. It just becomes more of a normalcy rather than something that at one time you would have thought it would have been really special. So
right. Pardon me. I gotta. Oh, sorry. People, I'm going to apologize right now. You're going to hear me blowing my nose a lot. It's like a tap that won't shut off tonight. So I do apologize. That's good times. Dirty Filth, that's looking good.
Does it looks good?
Yeah, Blob is sitting on my legs. I can't feel him anymore.
Oh, right on. Good old Blobbert.
Yeah, she sauntered off. I think the missus went downstairs, so they're probably going to get snacks.
Kind of snacks. Did you double snack them yesterday?
Yes.
Good.
I got extra snacks because, Sunday and all.
Well, they work hard for the weekend, man.
Yeah, someone's got to do the sleeping.
Yeah. Mike, I need you to move your head to your left for a second so I can check out what else you got on the wall. Okay, we got a bunch of TIE fighters. Is that an X-Wing fighter there?
Yeah. X-Wing fighters.
Okay, and there's a Millennium Falcon. Nice. Very nice. Dude, that Death Star is awesome.
That's just part of it. I've got a whole nother 8x4 sheet of decals for another wall. And so
Nice.
I finally took over my my workshop and started decorating. I usually spend too much time working on stuff and not enough in decorating it. So I figured I've had all these decorations for a long time. It's time to put them up.
I love it. I love it. There's just something awesome about Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember when it first came out, I was there and it was just like, the first 3 movies, you just can't, it's just no comparison.
One of my earliest memories was like 4 years old. We were in Seattle and Dad took me to see Star Wars at the theater there.
Back then, it just blew everything away because there was nothing like it.
Oh, yeah.
And still, there's not a lot like it.
Right? Hey, Dirty Filth, Just Min wants to know which cat is the fattest.
There's not really any fat cats, but the gremlin is probably the heaviest boy of them all.
Yeah. When are you adding more cats? You only got 4.
We're technically allowed by a Edmonton bylaw to have 6. We got room for 2 more.
I could see you doing that.
We have 4 dogs and 4 cats.
I got 2 cats and 1 dog, but it's a miniature, smaller than my cats.
We have a miniature pincher on one end and then a 200-pound Great Dane on the other end. And they actually play together.
Well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, we picked up a miniature Chihuahua. He's only about 4 pounds. We rescued him. He was a foster. He's 4 years old. Thing never barks. Never barks.
Oh my God, ours barks all the time. She hears everything. She hears everything. Every time she hears something, she barks. But All of ours are rescues. That's why we have 4 dogs and 4 cats, because they're all rescues.
All right, bear with me here, my friend. Thank you to Guy, T-Bone, Chris, Tyrone. Welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for the super chat. And Susan for the super chats tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you. And here we go with the second half hour, everybody. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We very much appreciate you tuning us on in. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Mike Martin is here. He has a book called My Dark Explorations, Portals, Gateways, and Astral. And this is where we're looking into astral projection, astral travel, portals. It's a great topic. And Mike, thank you so much for being here to break it all down for us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
When you are astral traveling or astral projecting, what's the difference between that and a lucid dream?
A lucid dream is becoming conscious and becoming conscious within that dream. So you remain in that dream fully conscious. And then when you're astral projecting, you're no longer in your dream. You are in the full astral rather than being in the dream state. So when I become lucid in a dream, I realize I'm dreaming. And at that point, I tell myself I want to, have an out-of-body experience. At that point, I'm taken out of the dream and I'm in somewhere. And when I say I'm on the astral, it could look exactly like it does right now, depending on where you're at. When I was the first time and every other time before that, it looked exactly like it does here because it's just an overlayment of physical Earth. There might be some differences somewhere, but in most places, it looks just like it does here. But automatically that you're no longer in your body. You know that you're in two places simultaneously because you can feel them both. You're aware of them both, and you realize that your perception, not your eyesight, but your peripheral vision and your vision is so much different. And obviously you're not walking. You don't have to walk. You don't have to do any of those things. So you don't have a physical body, but the lucid dream means you're still in a dream. Now I do have a lot of lucid dreams that don't go anywhere, but I remain lucid in that dream only because I choose to control my dreams. Let me give you an example. For when I was a kid, I had a lot of nightmares, a long time, really bad ones. And when I grew up, then I didn't have any nightmares anymore. Then about maybe 12 years ago, I started getting these dreams where I'd be doing something, say me and my wife would be coming home or whatever. And then all of a sudden it starts to pixelate and get really dark. And you can kind of feel it. It's almost like the hair stands up on the back of your neck, like watching a horror movie or something. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of weird. Why is this happening? So I didn't really think much of it. And then once it started happening again, I was pulled out of the dream and into a portal. So every time it would get to the point where it's kind of getting hairy in my dream. I'm pulled out of my dream and there's a portal there. And so I'm thinking, why do I keep getting pulled out of here? I want to, have a lucid dream and I want to deal with this. But it just kept happening for a number of years. And then finally I got so desensitized by this event happening in my dream where it started getting dark. One time I got to the point where it's, I'm walking into a doorway following a friend in a dream. And then all of a sudden it starts getting really dark. almost to the point where like the door just disappears. Can't see anything. And then I said, screw it. I'm going to have to, meet this or come to the point where I can see what's going on. At that point, I wasn't pulled out, but I got to this point where we're just in a dark room. I can't see anything. There's nothing I can do. So I wake up. The very next time, me and my wife are at a table in my dream, and it begins to do the same thing again. This time, an image or a being comes out to the other side of the table, and I happen to have 2 items on the table that were mine in the dream. And I grabbed one of them, and then the being grabbed one of them, and I smashed the other one and said, it doesn't matter to me. So eventually, throughout that dream, I walked around the table and met it face to face. And the closer I got to it, the darker it became. And what the difference between this darkness and a normal darkness is, this absorbed light. So usually when it starts to get dark outside, you can still see across the yard. It's just a little harder to see it. This absorbed it. So the closer you got to the being, the more light it absorbed. So it just was black, standing next to something that was black. I faced it, you show no fear. And I turned my back on it and I walked away. And so after that, I haven't had any of those dreams. But what happens is we're in these situations in our dreams. If you're subconsciously dealing with it, then you really never come to a conclusion. But if you're conscious during that dream, like I became conscious. I was lucid. It was a lucid dream. I enacted what I wanted to do. I played out that dream and I moved on. And then I didn't have any more of those reoccurring instances. But those are beings that are on the astral. And those beings can manipulate their images so that they can be whatever they want. I think a lot of times they choose darkness is because that leaves your imagination up to something that, maybe worse than they could imagine. So if they come up with this monster, just being a dark image might leave your imagination up to something even worse. I don't know. But they are very manipulative. They want to get you to fear them. They want them to, because we're spiritual beings in a physical body. We emit frequencies, our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, they all emit frequencies. And they feed off of our lower vibrational frequencies like fear and depression and that sort of thing. So what they do is they try to get a rise out of us based upon how they can confront us, especially in a dream, and they can absorb that energy, that low vibrational energy, and that's what they do. So if you meet or see any of these on the astral or anywhere else, never show any fear or anything else. Stand up as you would for yourself in the physical world and don't back down.
When you are connecting with other beings on the other side, do they see you in a human level or do they see you in a spiritual level?
Okay, I didn't mention this. When I'm utilizing a portal, it's visible from both sides. So if I'm sitting in my bedroom and the portal opens, they see me just as I am. They see me just as if there was a video camera on me. The problem is when I see them,
right,
I'm seeing them in their native state on their field of play. They can manipulate how they look. Most of the time when I see them, they have a human form. Apparently it's probably to make me feel comfortable or to make me feel that I can openly communicate with them. A lot of times I've seen hooded robes, like almost like a monk's robe, and they have it pulled over their face and I can't see, because it's dark under the robe. That's generally how I see a lot of them, but most of them try to bring in a human type image that I would feel comfortable with. So when I see them, I realize that it's probably not a human image that I'm seeing. It's just that that's what they're portraying. And a lot of times the background of the landscape will be like a small town or something, which I know that's probably not really how it looks, but that's just for my benefit. So with portals, they can be enacted by a third party so that I can communicate with another party while they're watching or in controlling it. There's also ones for just communication where I can see you, you can see me, we can communicate back and forth, but we can't travel through it. And there's also those that are used for actual travel. So I've utilized a couple of them, and then there's a couple more that I won't get into right now, but they're used pretty much universally, like we use a cell phone. So if you use video on a cell phone, it's just what they would consider like a portal image. And I do believe they're highly they're monitored so that people just can't zap in and out of places without some kind of consent. And I've been using them for a long time. I've never been limited, but then again, I don't know really what the capabilities of everything are. So I haven't pushed it to the limit.
Are the beings that you are teaming up with on the other side and having communication with, are they friendly? Are they agnostic? How would you put them?
They're always friendly. There's, you catch more flies with sugar than you do, or with honey than you do anything else. It's the same thing on the Astral. They're never going to come out unless you need, if you did something where they're going to scare you or whatever. I don't know. I've never been met with anything that was negative. Nobody's ever came to me and threatened me or anything of that nature. Now, manipulation is a different story, but none of them had ever acted anything out of context. Usually I go there, they're talking, there's a conversation going on, I listen, and I bring it back. Now, let me give you an example of one that was a little bit different. Last year, it was about a year ago now, it was in June. I ended up in this, looked like a cathedral, like a big old, maybe like a Catholic church, one of the ones from maybe the 1600s with the flying buttresses and everything. I'm in there and I'm looking down at about a 45-degree angle. I'm probably 20 feet up. And down below, there's a wooden stage. Now, this is all finished wood. Down below, there's a stage. And there's these, I call them icons or avatars, because they weren't a living being. They might have been a spirit being I think they were a spirit being using a physical body that they'd created. The body was in the shape of a acetylene tank, one of the tall 4 or 5 foot acetylene tanks. And it was glossy black. So it was a cylinder with a rounded top. And then it looked like there was a black bowling ball sitting on top of it. It was all nice painted black, and they had different stripes on them, I guess, for whoever they were in this colony. There was 8 of them. There was 2 sets of 4. And they were moving those. They were just moving as if they were sliding around, as if they were on ice. And I think they were having some sort of a meeting or something. And one of them apparently obviously saw me, because they can see me and I can see them. And he told me to repeat this. And I actually was repeating it vocally. I was verbally repeating it. He said, say it. He said it 3 or 4 times that I needed to repeat it. And I didn't understand it when I was saying it. So when I came back, I got my phone and I recorded it. And I kept listening to it and listening to it. And this is all telepathically. You hear it telepathically, but he told me to verbally repeat it. So I repeated it, and then I'm writing it down, and I finally figured out what he said. It was in broken English. And it was as if I was speaking to somebody that was from, say, South America, that knew enough English just to pretty much say what they wanted to say, but they didn't know the context of how to put the words. And what he basically told me was that I was being nosy. And he said his name at the same time. He said, he goes, blank knows who's nosy. And the way he pronounced it was a little slow, so it was hard for me to understand. But as I sped it up and I kept hearing it, then I realized what was saying. But that was the only thing that I could ever construe as being anywhere near close to negative. It's always been positive. But there's not information out there that's going to benefit us at all. It just seems to be basic level conversation.
The reason why I asked that, and I thought you gave a great answer, by the way, is I have heard from other people in astral projection, astral travel, that you have to be careful when you leave your body because you may not be able to get back in. There could be a darker spirit looking to jump into a body and take that body over.
I don't
Have you
believe
ever
that.
heard this?
Now, there's two. When you're out of body, you've got the cord, and somebody's not going to jump in your body. That's
Okay.
most likely not going to happen. Now, if you go from the astral to the mental plane, which is your soul,
Mhm.
now at that point, if you get attacked, yes, you could die. If you're utilizing the soul as a travel component, that body, and you're on the mental plane, yes, you could potentially, it could be tragic. In the astral, that's not going to be tragic, but that's a completely different scenario. Most people aren't going to get to the mental plane because it takes a lot of energy and a lot of concentration. There are practitioners on the mental plane. There's a lot of things that go on the mental plane that people don't know about. Most people are scratching the surface on the astral plane. The mental plane is a whole different ball of wax.
Okay. And for you, you mentioned the cord, this silver cord that apparently is attached to you and your body, almost like an umbilical type cord. How far does it stretch? How far can you go? And when you stretch it on out, how does it elasticize back to a tiny little, whatever you want to call it, in order to get you back in?
Well, that's your connection to your physical body. That's where the energy flows through your physical body. And I'm sure there's a time limitation at some point on how long you're able to stay out of body. And if you're out of body too long or too far, you'll probably experience a snapback. And if you've ever had a snapback, it's not a pleasant experience. So, but yeah, the cord is, they call it a silver cord. I guess if you look at it, it maybe could look silver, and that's where you're, like I said, that's your connection between your physical body and your spirit body. But yeah, I haven't really studied on that too much. Most of my experiences have been, once I discovered the portals, or once they discovered me, then I utilized the portals to pretty much go everywhere and utilize them to experience things. So that's what I pretty much focused on almost 100%. And that's where I got to see most of the beings. So most of the beings that I experienced were not on the astral. They were either in alternate realities or some kind of other type of reality. Now, they don't tell me where they're at, so I don't have a map of saying, okay, well, I was here and I was over here. I just end up in these places. And with the ones that I call with the, acetylene tank looking thing with the bowling ball on top, those were obviously spiritual beings that were using avatars or icons as physical bodies for their ceremony. And what I have experienced, and what I've experienced for the last couple of years on a much higher level, is the fact that there are creatures, I wouldn't say creatures, there are worlds out there that are two-dimensional. And a lot of the beings and the creatures, or whatever I call them beings, they're two-dimensional beings, and they would some of them would even, you would think of as scribbles or doodles. Their whole existence is on a dark. It's in a dark space, and the dark space has them moving around. And the closest thing that I would say that I could compare it to is like bees or ants. What they'll do is they'll be moving around in their normal, in their normal way, going along their busy day or whatever, and then all of a sudden I appear, and then things change. They realize there's something else there, and then they start flocking towards me, and they change the way that they're moving around and stuff. But I'm not there long enough to study them on some in-depth basis. But there are things that are so far beyond what we can imagine. My first experience with a two-dimensional world was probably, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. I ended up in this, and I thought it was a drawing when I first saw it. It was these sharp-looking black mountains and these white and black creatures that were on it. And I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was a poster or a drawing somebody showed me, and they were moving around. And I realized that here I am with these bird-looking creatures that are two-dimensional, and I just sat there, and I could feel what they were thinking, and they could, I'm sure, feel what I was thinking. And we knew neither one of us was threatening, but I knew that they could be, and I'm sure they knew that I had the potential as well. But we were there existing in the same space for a minute or so, and we were so far from each other. I mean, we were on the opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes down to, beings, but we could be in the same space and yet be peaceful at the same time. So it was something that was really, for me, it was groundbreaking, because when do you ever get to see something that's just so far from what you could imagine that it's just unbelievable?
We got 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break. At the top of the hour, Michael Martin is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. What are these portals like? When you talk about portals, what are you getting into here?
Well, a portal is a gateway between two locations. So I could have a portal between me and somewhere here on Earth. It could be somewhere here on the Astral, between me and somewhere in another reality or alternate reality or anything. All it is a direct connection. So it's like sitting in front of a window, and you can make whatever location you want on the other side of that window. So it's an opening in space-time where distance is absolutely doesn't exist. I connect with it, and I'm right there. And most of the time when I connect with them, I am right there. I'm not looking at it. I'm not looking through a window. It feels like I'm right there, like in the room or at that location. So sometimes it's like looking at it. Most of the time it's like being there.
Is it the same on the other side of that portal?
Is
from
it
one
the
side
same?
where you're traveling from to where you're going?
It's like what it is there. So let me give you an example.
Please.
If I go to this location and it looks like a small town, okay, I could be there at the table with this other individual who maybe looks like an older guy that had lived in the town all his life. So we're at a table, and he's telling me these stories. He's giving me this information. Like as soon as I arrive there, he's already talking. And then when he's done, then I return, because I can only be out for so long. But these things happen. And what I discovered is these happen to all of us, because subconsciously we're making these connections in the daydream state during the day. We don't even know it. I was just lucky enough to catch it happening, and then confident enough in what I was doing in order to make the connection and figure out how to duplicate it. But it happens to all of us. It's not just me. I'm just lucky enough to catch it.
All right. Well, the fact that most of us haven't gone through a portal is kind of scary for a point, because we really don't know what it's like. We don't know how it's going to react to our body. How does your physical body react to that?
Well, actually, so when I say going through a portal, this is consciousness. My body never leaves the spot. But when I say it, when they see me, if I'm doing if there's a communication portal, they see me. And if I'm in bed, they see me in bed. If they're wherever, I see them wherever, or I see that location. Now, when I have the glimpses, the daytime, the daydream ones, like we all have, I'm traveling, but it's consciously. Now we have a subconscious, and then we have a conscious. The subconscious is not going to give you information because it's constantly making these connections, but you're not aware of it.
Hold that thought right there. Hold that thought right there, because we're going to go to break here at the top of the hour, and we're getting into a lot of great information. Michael Martin about astral projection, portals, lucid dreaming, his book, My Dark Explorations, Portals, Gateways, and Astral, on Amazon right now. Check it on out. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Steve Scott. I got to tell you, Mike, I'm loving this. Absolutely loving this. You're amazing.
Well, thank you.
All right,
Good. I like that.
We're going to turn it over to Dirty Filth. We got about 5.5 minutes. I'm going to take a quick break here, Mike.
So am I.
All right, Dirty, it's all yours, my man. Don't forget to turn your mic on.
I watched old Austin Powers over the weekend, and I thought it would be kind of funny if, everybody's always pointing laser beams at aircraft or UFOs and junk. So I kind of figured they probably get pretty pissed off after a while about it. Poor little aliens. Actually, I got one small adjustment. There we go. It's minuscule, but it's important. Okay, so I hope everybody's having a good night so far. Oops. Refill. That's what I'm going to be getting here in a minute. Some tea. My fancy dandelion tea. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, I actually got to see one of those fancy lasers one time. Pretty neato. Actually, shadow people. I got a picture of a shadow person here. This is an older drawing. Shadow person. Yeah. Creeping the underwear drawer of the gray alien.
Yeah. It's not far off.
Yeah, someone mentioned something about shadow people in the chat. I've been having to go through and rescan all my drawings because my web witch that does them, her computer cratered on her and a whole bunch of other circumstances. Here's another good one. Why don't we take the entire cow? You have a good point, Carl. Instead of just cow parts.
Right. Probably the worst part of the cow. Not even the steaks.
We're not taking that rickety box of cow parts on the alien ship, buddy boy. So you think to just like freezer Ziploc bag them up. But yeah, it's we got a huge stack of these guys. I think that the stack is just massive. It's like 5 years worth of drawings I gotta scan. That's all right.
I'll take some time.
I fell out of bed once. Is that considered out of body? Yes, Gizmo, that counts. When I was a kid, I had bunk beds and I fell out of the top bunk. Don't worry, T-Bone Dave will mark that down in his little selecty pile. Thanks, Susan. I hope I don't break anything by touching this button. There's my gremlin, my big orange boy. Actually, he got in a fight the other day, too. Apparently, he clawed the other cat's ear really bad. I'm proud of him. Good job, boy. Don't take any guff from the other neighborhood cats. I don't know. There's pretty bad parts of the cow. It's like, you can have any part of the cow you want. I'll have the cow balls. It's like, you can have like a nice steak or some ribs. I'll just have some balls. It's like, I don't get it. But then again, I drink all the pickle juice. So show us the gremlin. All right. Let me see if I can just rework this here. Come here, boy. I can hold him like a baby, so it's all good. There he is. Hey, mister. Look at that. Look at that gremlin. Yeah, he's a big, heavy bastard. Now there's cat fuzz all over the place. French dip, eh? Ooh. Yeah, Mr. Gremlin. He's also a pizza thief, by the way. He will steal pizza. That's my Sasquatch. Nice breeze. Saskatoon berry pie coming from Grandma's house. Yeah, he's a cute boy. You're welcome, Justin. I'd show you the gargoyle, but I don't know where he went. I think he's somewhere around here. The cats are all over the place. They're absolutely out of control. He's also a big crybaby. He'll sit by the back door and cry when he wants out. Like, quite literally just cry. So we call him Crybaby.
Looks good, Dirty. Looks good.
Okay, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
You
Hey,
too.
Dirty, you're the best, buddy.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good night, everyone.
It's Dirty Filth, everybody. We love our dirty filth around here. My nose is killing me right now. All right, we got about 30 seconds. Big thank you tonight to Sasquatch Guy, T-Bone, Chris, Tyrone, Susan, and Lisa. Very much appreciate your love and support of SOR. Thank you. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people, so go get your stuff today. Hi, Corey. How you doing? Good to see you. Big J, nice to have you here. And go from there and scroll up. And I think we are good. All right. Here we go, everybody. Let's kick off the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate your tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates. Thank you so much for tuning us in and making this such a great, great show for you to listen to. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quick Quidlibit. Yeah, Quick Quidlibit is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our good friend Michael Martin is here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. My Dark Explorations is his book, Portals, Gateways, and Astral, which can be found on Amazon right now. We're talking astral projection, lucid dreaming, what portals are, what's it like to go into a portal. And you were explaining that right before we had to go to break, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Well, we generally, I don't go into the portals. What happens is I consciously travel through them. So it's similar to having an out-of-body experience. So when your astral body, your spirit body detaches, and it's already in the astral, and you normally have that happen when you're dreaming. And then you subconsciously you're there, but you're really not consciously there. So when you have an astral body experience, your conscious detaches with that body and resides in that astral body. At that point, it's just like you're there. You're completely there. 100% you're there. So what happened is I got to see these nightly portals, and I would just see them laying in bed, and it didn't take me to initiate them. I'm just there seeing them. When I got to the point where I was utilizing these glimpses, which are through the daydream state, at that point I had to work for my connection. So what I did was I get myself into a mental state, and what I was doing is I was duplicating the mental state that I was in when I was seeing the portals. I duplicated that during the day, and which allows me to connect with the portal. And with that portal, my consciousness connects through the portal. So what happens is it's almost like my consciousness goes through that portal to that location, and I'm there just like I'm being there physically, and I'm getting the information, I'm seeing what's going on there, and then I come back back through the veil, and then I retain that information, and then I document it. And it's gotten to the point over the years where I no longer have to try at times. Sometimes I'll just kind of be sitting there and I'll start to daydream, and then boom, I'm in that situation. And we, like I said, we all do this. This is something that comes natural to us. We're spiritual beings and locked in a physical body. So things of this nature happen to us on a subconscious level a lot, every day. We're just not aware of it. And like I said, I was fortunate enough to catch it several times. I would catch it, but I had no idea what was happening because I couldn't retain the information. So that's when I had the ability to duplicate the same brain wave that I was having when I was seeing the portals. And then I utilized that in order for myself to project my consciousness through the portal and experience other realities and alternate realities and other dimensions. So I'm there. There's really no time lapse from the time that I disconnect my consciousness through that portal. It's instantaneous. So I can go there and listen to a conversation and come back, and it might have only been 15, 20 seconds. I don't know what the time frame is because I don't have somebody there timing me. But while I'm there, I realize where I'm at. I realize my body is sitting in the room. And I also know that I'm there. And I can actually move my body at that point. But the problem is 150% of my concentration is there at that point. So when I'm there, I have to use all my energy just paying attention to what's going on, trying to visually see what's there, what's happening around me, so that I can bring all that information back with me and then document it. And I've been doing that part of it for about, 15 years, 16 years. And before that, the portals were there about another 15 or 16 years before that. So I found other ways to get into it. And they are completely natural because I know people do it on a regular basis. If I do it, then everybody else is probably doing it. They just haven't gotten to that point to realize it yet.
Good friend of this show, Trey Hudson, who's a Bigfoot researcher in Georgia. Him and his team a couple of years ago came across a portal while they were investigating for Sasquatch at night. And two of his members walked up on the portal. They could see the portal on their infrared cameras. Couldn't see it with their open eyes.
Right.
But when they approached the portal and looked in, the other side looked very desolate, barren, dry, like trees without leaves, rocks and desert ground, like a clay type of ground. It was really nothing. And when they actually walked into it, and thankfully were able to walk out of that portal as well. Have you ever looked into a portal and seen the same thing? Or is it completely different? Or maybe they saw something different than what you have?
Well, the closest thing I would say to that is I do know a couple of the places I've seen don't have atmospheres. They may look nice, but there's no atmosphere there. So you wouldn't last. I mean, you will be walking into the end. A lot of these two-dimensional worlds and stuff that I see, they won't have an atmosphere either. They're just, it's a completely foreign type of an environment than we could ever imagine. So I would, if it wasn't something that I created or something that was created in front of me for my benefit, then I would never enter it. I wouldn't do it because, like I said, when some portals are made for travel, some are made for just communication, and some are made for other things, and you don't know which one that is, and you might walk through one, and then at that point, then you can't get back, or like I said, there's no supportive atmosphere for you. So when I go there, 99.9% of the time, I'm moving there consciously. So there doesn't need to be any atmosphere. I don't require anything in order for myself to go there, because I'm not going there physically. Most of the places I go to, I would never go to. I wouldn't even think about going there. So, I mean, consciously you can go anywhere, but physically you have your mass limitations of it.
When you were traveling there, do you ever get warned by spirits or guides on the other side not to approach certain areas?
No. Probably because I wouldn't listen. Because I'm not the type of person to really care what somebody else has got to say in that respect. I've been around a lot. I'm sure there may be some areas that they would maybe not want me to go, but if they told me not to go there, I would probably go there. So they probably know me better than I know myself, but I'm not going to not go somewhere if somebody tells me. If somebody tells me, then I'm definitely going there. So I think they realize what's going on there, because like I said, they're connected to this whole record system, and they know people's personalities, they know their history, and they know what's going on when you get there. So like I said, that's why they present themselves in a manner that would be more acceptable to you. So when I go there, they already have a good estimation of who I am, what I'm about, if they're a regular being. It's two-dimensional, it's a different story. But you can usually tell that these beings have a pretty good understanding of you. They're not asking me questions like, hey, where are you from, or anything of that nature, because they already have a good indication of who I am. Now, here on physical Earth, we're spiritual beings in a human body, okay? And we're also highly insulated from the outside worlds. So we're here, we're kind of in a fishbowl, and it's hard to get out of it, and it's hard for anybody to get in it. So when I do these portals and stuff, I'm able to get myself out of there. And then since they can see me, they have no question of who I am and what I'm doing, because they understand that we're in this fishbowl. And more than likely, that's why they told me to keep the portals open. I don't think it would have ever worked anyways for them, but we're in a highly insulated area. So I think it's hard for them. And I really don't think there's any reason why they'd even want to come here. I mean, yeah, there's a reason why I'd want to go somewhere else, but I don't see any reason why any being would want to come here.
Have you ever seen creatures, pixies, or anything come out of these portals?
No, none of them have come out or come through any of the portals whatsoever. No, it's all when I go through there, nothing comes back. And there's a couple ways that I know of that if anything ever tried, then I could cut it, I could stop it. There's a couple of things that I've been shown that I can stop things trying to come through, or there's alternative methods, but I've never had a reason to ever utilize any of that. Nobody's ever tried.
My goodness. All right. Let's get to some audience questions here, because they are piling up. Let's go to Sasquatch Gee here, who is asking, what are your best tips to both recall dreams so as to log them and then use that to astral travel?
The best way I found is, first of all, if you have a dream in the middle of the night and you happen to wake up, write it down immediately. Don't leave anything to memory. And then once you get in the habit of doing that, then at that point, after some time, you'll be able to remember several dreams, or just wake up and just write down something that related to that dream, that if you read it, you'd go, okay, I remember the dream now, because that's a key word. I would write down a lot of times key words, so I wouldn't be writing 2 pages in the middle of the night. I had a little flashlight and I had a pen and paper, and I would do it religiously. I'd make sure that I did it. And then I got to the point where if I had 5 or 6 dreams in one night, I could wake up in the morning and just write them all down. I'd remember them from beginning to end. And especially with the key words, that really helps. And then once you are aware of that, and tell yourself before you go to bed most nights that you're going to remember your dreams, and then you'll wake up and document them, and just keep doing that. And once you get into the doing it every night, and you're continually doing it over and over, then it just becomes automatic. You'll start doing it all the time. Now, what I did was to begin realizing when I was in a dream, like I said, you can set the alarm on your phone, just haphazardly different times during the day, and then ask yourself if you're dreaming. Now, you won't necessarily be in a dream and say, oh, hey, am I dreaming? But what'll happen is you'll become so accustomed to questioning where you're at, you'll get in a dream and something will trigger that memory by saying, oh, that's not normal. And all of a sudden you'll realize you're dreaming. So what you're doing is you're setting yourself up to catch yourself consciously in an act that you wouldn't normally do. And that worked for me. But it took a long time, maybe a year or more. But once you become religiously doing it, you'll become much better at it.
All right, let's move to another question here. This one coming from, let me take a peek here. Lisa, how do you stop sleep paralysis?
Well, if you're in astral projection, you can't stop that. And some people say they get to a point where they feel that they have sleep paralysis. Their mind is still completely active, but they haven't disconnected yet. And so they're in like a sleep paralysis mode. And I've been in that mode before, and I've tried to disconnect through that whole process. It doesn't work for me. It never did. And I've tried it through the years. So I went through lucid dreaming, and there's a couple other ways. And I tell people, try things. If it pops into your head, try it. Now, it sounded stupid when I first started it, but I got the idea, hey, why don't I put a pyramid under my bed? So I went online and I got myself I printed out some little, pyramid with the correct angles on it. So it's like the pyramid in Egypt. So I got the right angles. I made it out of cardboard and I stuck it under my bed. And I positioned one side towards true north. And I taped it on the floor so that my cats wouldn't move it. And lo and behold, it actually helped me more than not. So, because what I would do is I'd put it under there, and then I left it under there for a couple nights, and I was more successful. And I took it out, and then I had my wife put it under and take it out without me knowing, to see if I was actually being more successful with it or without it. And I wrote down the days and stuff, and she had a list on the calendar of the day she put it under and she took it up. And I was more successful with the pyramid underneath there than I was without it. So don't just stick to one thing. Some people say clearing your chakras, do different things, try everything, a little bit of everything, and find out what actually works for you, because everybody's a little bit different.
All right. I love that answer. Good job. Let's go to another question from our audience. Let's go to T-Bone here. Mike, what's your opinion of ayahuasca journeys?
The natural drug? Yes. I don't use anything. I don't drink. I don't partake in alcohol, drugs, nothing. Because if you're going to do something and you want it to be all natural, I'm not saying that it might not be beneficial, but I don't use any stimulant. I don't use anything. I don't want to have anything between me and what I'm experiencing. And the reason being is my concentration and moving my consciousness takes a lot of concentration and a lot of my attention. And in order for me to be successful with that, like in the dream state, to try to realize you're dreaming. So you're in an illusional field. It's kind of a manipulative field. And you're trying to realize you're there. Well, it takes a lot of attention to get to that point of realizing it. Well, it's the same thing with the portals. In order for me to initiate this, it takes 150% of my attention to get to where I need to go. And I need to be on it. I really need to be there. Because if I let it slip a moment, then I'll fall into like almost like a dream state type of thing, and it's gone. So it's about being there 100% of the time, and you have to be consciously 100% aware of what your surroundings are. That's the only way you're going to be able to be successful.
Excellent. All right, let's go to the Doug Shelby, who is asking, hey, Mike, have you ever encountered the staircase in the middle of nowhere?
I have not.
Have you ever heard that theory?
Mm-mm.
So apparently there are some people out there who have been in the middle of a forest, and all of a sudden the strange staircases will appear. And it could be in a strange part of the forest or a place they've visited numerous times. And these staircases are there. And the theory is if you go to the top of the staircase and you go to take the next step, you go into a different dimension, a different time, a different portal or anything like that.
I don't know. I've never done that. And I go there, so I don't have to use a staircase. But there's a lot of things out there that I was always told. And one of them is if you fall in a dream or you die in a dream, then you die in real life. It's not true. And the reason why I know this is because I was in a dream, and we were at some place people were getting their cars fixed, and they had those lifts that you put your car on. So I got on one of those lifts and we were playing with it, and the thing went up like 100 stories, like in a dream. And I jumped off it, landed on the ground, bounced, and got up and walked away. So a lot of these things that people come up with, they're stories. Some of them are true, maybe true for one person, maybe not for another. And they're almost kind of like an urban legend. When I was growing up, we had urban legends around the town that I was at. So a lot of things were going on. They even had them in the newspaper and stuff. So what I say is, if you've got that and you want to find out if it's true, do what I do. Go find it. Go find it or get to the bottom of it. Because the only way you're going to find truth in anything is through your own experiences. And I tell people, if you want to know what it's like on other dimensions or other realities, and you want to see things that you've never seen before. I mean, I see things that stuff on Earth is not even going to touch it. But it's not because it's somewhere else like that. It's just because I've gone through this experience, and I consider it, almost like a gift, because I put forth so much effort to get to this point, and now I'm receiving these gifts. But I share them with people, because what good is it to have something like this without sharing it with people? Because if I can do it, that means everybody else can do it. I'm no better or no different from everybody else. The only difference between me and you is my perspective is different from yours, and your perspective is different from mine. But if you want to find truth, if you want to find the real truth, then you have to apply yourself and look for it. Because spirituality can't be taught. It has to be experienced. I don't care what anybody says. I don't believe in gurus, and I don't believe in any of that stuff. Because you know what? If you want to look for a hero, or if you want to look for a God, then look in the mirror. Because that's where you should be looking. If you want to look somewhere for truth, you look inside. And that's going to give you more than anything or anybody else is gonna. I write the information out. I have a Rumble channel. I have videos on there. I also have another book. It's called The Spiritualist Manifesto, A Guide to Freedom. That's also on Amazon. But what I do is I lay out things for people. My journeys and my experiences and my explorations are here to benefit not just myself, but others. And I spend time documenting, all these years documenting, not for just myself, so I can put the story together, but also I can share with other people. And that's the whole purpose behind it. And that's why I make videos. I mean, I don't make money off the videos or anything. It's just, they're on Rumble. You listen to them. If you like them, great. If not, and I'm available to answer questions.
Michael Martin, we got him for another half hour. We'll continue with audience questions on Spaced Out Radio with the second half next. listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. I'm loving this, man. Loving this. So cool. So cool. Great way to kick off the week, man.
Oh, yeah.
Great way to kick off the week.
So you're in Canada?
Yeah, I'm about 5.5 hours northeast of Vancouver.
How's the weather there?
A lot of rain lately, which is good because we didn't get a lot of snow this winter.
Uh-huh.
And which is good, or which was bad. But the good news is we're in a real rainy period right now, which is hopefully going to keep the forests nice and calm and wet rather than in forest fire fears. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we got a lot of strange stuff that happens here, you know, and we really do not want the forest fires back, because that really sucks.
You had them a couple of years ago, didn't you?
Yeah, 2021 was the last bad year. Prior to that, it was 2017, and in 2017 we got evacuated here for 2 weeks, and I don't want to go through that again. That's quite dramatic.
Yeah. I used to live in Northern California when I was younger, and we used to have forest fires all the time. And well, not just forest fires, fires in general. And it was all, you know, all the fields were dry. So it was just like a tinderbox.
Like, I understand drought and everything, but I don't understand how California has any trees to burn left. I mean, with these super fires that they're having, and then you get they've got the biggest forest fire air power flying in that area, and they just can never seem to put them out.
Well, they don't dethatch like they used to. They used to go through there and clean up a lot of the forest or do controlled burns, and they don't have the same, they don't have the same tactics that they used to. And they had a way to help cure it a little bit, but I don't think they're doing a lot of that work that they used to.
No, same as up here, you know. And that's part of the big problem is they got to get rid of some of the dead trees and the deadfall.
Right.
You know, the Doug Shelby, what happened with the rogue ghost pissing off the other ghosts at your spot? We ended up getting him out of the building. But we know he's still on the property. We just don't know where. So we're prepared. Hey, Wallet Moth, thanks for listening over on X. How you doing, buddy? Oh, excuse me. All right, there we go. Yeah, I don't like the forest fires.
No.
Kind of kills my Sasquatch area.
Oh, yeah.
But in 2021, every trail that you go, almost every major trail you go down now, they've cleared 100 feet on both sides of the logging road now. So that way, if trees fall, they're not going to, create a bridge over.
Yeah, they're trying to create a fire break.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have as much of a problem with that here in Arizona. There's more desert out here, but
yeah,
up north they have the problem with the trees and stuff. So
yeah,
we've got a lot of trees up there. So you just got to. Usually, what causes them here is people leaving campfires and stuff, and carelessness.
Where in Arizona are you?
I'm just west of Phoenix.
Okay. Because one of our radio stations is, I guess, east of Phoenix at Apache Junction.
Yeah, that's about, 45, 50 miles on the other side.
Yeah. All right, we got about 45 seconds.
Okay.
Big thank you tonight to T-Bone ×2, Lisa, Susan, Tyrone, Chris, and Sasquatch Gee for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. It's a good way to support what we do on this show. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out and go from there. We're going to come back here in about 14 seconds. So let's make it a good one. Let's have a good second half. We'll continue with your questions right after this, everybody. Hold on. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. We're on every major podcast network as well, so you can download us for free there as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, we continue on. Final time tonight, Mike Barton. He is our guest talking about astral travel, portals, lucid dreaming, and everything in between. His book on Amazon, My Dark Explorations, Portals, Gateways, and Astral, can be found on Amazon right now, so make sure you check it on out. Mike, thank you so much for being with us. This has been awesome.
It's been great.
Continuing with audience questions here. Let's go to T-Bone. Have you ever been contacted by any agencies about what you do?
No. Never been contacted by anybody. I've actually tried to contact some of the physicists and never hear back anything. So
no alphabet agencies saying, hey, what are you looking for on the other side? How do you do it?
No, actually, I really haven't heard from anybody. I don't, I think they have their own thing going on, and I'm sure there's they've been working with portals for years, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure they have. And jump rooms. Because everybody likes a good jump room. All right, let's go to Lisa. What about sleep paralysis if you feel a presence or presences holding you down or feeling like something is messing with you?
Actually, I've had the sleep paralysis where, you're in a state that's close to the detachment of your astral body. I've been in that. I could get myself out of it. It wasn't a problem. I just felt that temporarily. And, but I've never felt like anything was holding me down or messing with me. Early on, I used to have a saying that I would say before I went to bed about, my intention and that sort of thing. And I never had any issues, and I don't even bother, repeating any of that anymore. I think a lot of it has to do with the way that you, think and control yourself. Now, when I say control yourself, it's about your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. You really have to get yourself to a point where you just don't have the fear. And like I said, a lot of these entities that people deal with. Now, when I say entities, we only see less than 1% of the visual spectrum with our normal physical eyes. So when people talk about Bigfoot and cryptids and a lot of these other things, maybe even fairies and stuff, they could all actually be around you and you have no concept of it because they're out of your visual range. Now, things on the astral are also out of your normal visual range because it's on a different frequency. They could be absolutely no different. So when you go on the astral and you see these spirit guides or you see the demons or you see the angels or whatever they portray themselves as, they could be here as well, but because they're on a different frequency, now maybe they can work themselves or change the frequency range and be seen and then not seen. So maybe that's why a lot of them are disappearing and reappearing. The same thing as spirits. You know, maybe you'll see a spirit one time, then maybe you won't see him again. So they have the ability to go in and out of a visual range, our visual range, which for them is probably not difficult. For us, we seem to be, oh, that's magic, but yet it's completely different. So when you're in charge and control of your own emotions and your own feelings, then you're not exhibiting these frequency ranges that a lot of these low-level beings are attracted to. So if you feel depressed or you feel fearful all the time and that sort of thing, these beings are on that same frequency range. So they will be attracted to you because you're emitting that. We're spiritual beings. We are energy beings. We emit those frequencies when we're doing that. Now, if you're more of a higher range type of a person, then they're not going to be attracted to you. So what you need to do is get yourself kind of in order, get your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts in control, because when we think, when we feel, we are emitting frequencies. No matter you think so or not, it's out of our visual range. You're not going to see them, but they can see them and they can feel them and they're attracted to that. So kind of get your life in order. I mean, just little things like control of your thoughts to begin with. That's a big step right there.
I could see that. Let's go to Willard. What about Astral Project Stargate? Have you ever looked into this?
I've seen it. I've seen the movie and some other things. I was really never into portals. I mean, it's kind of weird that I was exposed to them because I was really never into it. I mean, I knew what they were based on what I heard on Star Trek and sci-fi, what at the time or science. I even looked it up, but I don't know about the astral projection part of the Stargate thing, but I'm sure there are, some Stargates or other portals, but people have been able to initiate it. But since we're spiritual beings, we don't need technology in order for us to be successful in these type of endeavors. I mean, if I can create a portal without any technology, then why do we need technology? I mean, the only reason we have technology is because we're in a physical body. If we weren't in a physical body, we'd have absolutely no need for technology. We can do things ourselves. Most people completely underestimate their potential. You can create portals. You can do a whole lot of other things that people don't even think about. Can you imagine the potential we have if we utilized exactly what we have available? If we can see two-dimensional worlds, we can go far beyond. I mean, you could go light years away in a matter of a second because it's like stepping through a hole in the wall or something. There is so much that we have available to us. We completely underestimate ourselves. Like I said, if you want to look for a god or a hero, then you look in the mirror because you have absolutely no idea what you are capable of. If you knew just 1% of what you had available, you would probably not believe it. But the more that I learn and the more that I see, the more that I realize that I don't know. So I feel like I know less, even though I gain more knowledge, because the potential is just unbelievable. So, when we come up with things and with technology and stuff, I really am not impressed with technology because can do without it. We don't need it, but I'm sure there's a lot of things they can do.
I'm sure too. I just don't know if I want to see that yet. I really don't. All right, let's go to Turtle Dove. Do you choose where you go?
To a certain extent. I don't really, a lot of times when I enter it, I don't know where I'm gonna end up. I'll be there. The nightly portals I had absolutely no control over, and it took, like I said, it took me years to even determine that I was seeing through the eyes of other people, and it took me a while to figure it out. And So when I'm there, I got to figure out what's going on, where I'm at. You know, I have a lot of questions that I have to try to answer in order to document it. So I would say most of the time, no, I don't know where I'm going. Now, if I have enough intention to go somewhere, then I can probably get to that point. But most of the time, if there's, it's like going to Vegas. It's like, well, what game do you want to play? And say they had 1,000 games. You've never heard of 999 of them. So most likely you're not going to pick. You just say, well, I want to see all of them. So you just leave it to chance and go, because most likely I'm going to see something I've never seen before. So I'd rather see something that I've never seen before that I can't even imagine than to just go someplace with intention.
Excellent question. Have you ever ran into other astral travelers while you've been astral traveling or projecting yourself?
Not other people that are alive. No.
All right, let's go to Vanessa. What is your astrological sign?
Pisces.
Sierra wants to know, do you ever worry about having a bad dream that you may interpret as being prophetic just because it's a dream and then letting it become a self-fulfilling prophecy?
No, none of my dreams are prophetic. None of them. I mean, when I have a dream, I realize I've been dream logging long enough that I know that most of the information that I receive is subconscious. And even if I'm lucid within that dream, it's already begun. So it's already set the pace for it. So I don't see any dream as prophetic. But when I started getting reintroduced back to these dark ones in the dream, I knew there was something going on. And the last one that I had, the one that kind of finalized, I didn't add this at the end, is when I went face to face with that dark one and I was pulled out of that dream into a portal. I ended up in a room. The room looked like it was in a cave, like a rock cave. And there was some, maybe, I don't know, like chairs in there, but they were kind of weird looking chairs. And there was a 3-dimensional image that was just projected in midair. And it was a reptilian being. Now, I've never been into reptilian beings. I've never even seen one, never thought of one, never even, thought there would be one. And my interpretation of that was that dark one was showing me what the darkness of what it looked like, but it was behind it was a reptilian being. That's the only thing I could judge from that.
Oh my goodness. Do you consider yourself an ET abductee then?
I can't say that. When I was a kid, there was a lot of dreams that I had that I was being abducted in the dream, like I'd be in a dream and then something would grab me. I could never see what it was. And then all of a sudden my eyesight started getting blurry. I couldn't fight back because my arms and legs would go numb and I would try to scream and my voice would go away. I had things like that happen a lot when I was a kid. That's some of my bad nightmares. But I can't say that, oh yeah, I was taken or anything of that nature, because I never really saw anything. I could only leave it up for interpretation. And I'd rather not jump to conclusions. Like when I come to conclusions, I come to conclusions based upon multiple experiences and data that I have. So I'm a technical type of person. So I have to have some kind of enough data to support a theory in order for me to come to some conclusion. So I could never come to that conclusion without having some, reasonable doubt.
All right, let's go back to Sierra. Can it be harmful to remember your dreams, especially when bad things happen in them?
I don't think so. I mean, it's most of the stuff you're going to remember is going to be on a subconscious level. And people say that it has to do with your subconscious mind triggering it from different images and that sort of thing. I really never came to the conclusion that it really made much sense, because why would you need a third party to interpret your own dreams? It should be pretty much an open book. So most of the dream information that I run up against, I pretty much just write it off, because over decades of keeping dream logs, I could never really come to a conclusion of like, okay, well, other than all my work related dreams that I had in the past, because that's all I was thinking about was work or whatever, there was really never anything that I could say that pinpointed, oh, well, this means this or this means this.
Let's continue on with our questions. Zaddy is asking, are you aware that in Africa they call astral projectors witches, and they pray the witch gets stuck on the astral plane and their bodies die?
That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, different people think about astral projection and other things. And, when I was doing it in the 80s, well, I was doing this for decades and I never spoke to anybody about it. Only maybe 3 or 4 people in my whole life even knew these portals or anything. They had no idea because most people don't talk about it. Most people don't have an interest in it. So I never said anything to anybody. Finally, last year or the year before, I decided to write a book about it and come out with the information, because what good is it for me just to hold it to myself? But no, I'm not surprised. I mean, everybody has their own freedom of thought and how they want to see things. And it doesn't surprise me.
Well, let's head to another one here. Let's go to Miranda. I have a visitor at night that basically pulls my astral out and I fall asleep. I don't feel afraid, just shocking at first. What is going on? How do I stay conscious? I fall asleep so fast.
Well, if they're pulling you out, are you conscious when they pull you out? Or, I mean, it really depends on it. If you know they're pulling you out, then you're probably conscious, and maybe you should go travel with them and see, because really there's probably not anything that's going to hurt you on the astral. I mean, you can get to know the person and see what's going on. But I mean, there's a lot of manipulation. So, I mean, you don't believe everything you hear or anybody tells you. And if you don't like it, just tell them to stop. And I would just kind of pursue it, see where it takes you.
Kira would like to know, have you ever awakened while still in the astral plane? If so, what did it look like to you?
Well, if you're astral projecting, then you're conscious on that plane. So your consciousness is in the astral body. Now your physical body can't wake up and it can't move when your consciousness and your astral body are disconnected like that. So the only way that you could become consciously aware and do anything in the physical state is when your astral body returns and your consciousness returns to your physical body. So if you are in the dream state and your astral body is projecting, then it's a completely different scenario, because your subconscious is connected to the spirit body. But if you're actually projecting, then you're not going to do anything physically until they both return.
All right. We got about 6.5 minutes to go here. A couple more questions from our audience. Let's go to Guy here. Do you think that maybe time travelers could be astral travelers?
They could be. I mean, they could be utilizing portals too. I mean, there's a couple different scenarios that they could use. There are things out there that I'm sure have been purposely withheld from us because we have the ability to be able to utilize them. But if people don't know about them, then there's no way that they're going to do it. So I'm sure previous generations, even maybe the ones that built the pyramids and stuff, they had technologies or knowledge that we no longer have, that's obviously been erased from our whole history. So there are a lot of things out there that we don't have a good grasp of, only because we haven't gone through and actually been either exposed to or pursued them ourselves.
All right, let's continue. Let's go to T-Bone. Have you ever been in touch with another human with the same capabilities?
No, I've looked for people. I've looked for people that have the same capabilities. For many years, I looked for anybody, because it would be nice to work with somebody that works on the same level, because I've been all these years and I have nobody to answer questions. If I have a question, then I have to either find the answer myself or I just have to go without, because it's a very frustrating process when you have a real desire or a question on something in order to get past a roadblock or something, and you just don't have the ability there's nobody out there that's going to help. So frustration level, I've reached 1,000 easily many times, and you just have to find a way to break through on your own and come to a conclusion and find your own answers. And it's not easy, but that's kind of what you have to do when you get into a situation where there is nobody to ask.
All right, continuing on. Let's go to Aaron, who is asking, we got about 4 minutes. Can you speak on the two-dimensional blackbirds? Are they void of features and just a silhouette? Have you seen these birds in any art or figurines?
No, I actually haven't. And I call them birds because they most likely resembled birds versus anything else I've ever seen. They had very sharp features, and the mountains were very sharp features. Everything was sharp on them. And like I said, the way that their bodies were was kind of like a ball with, sharp edges and it had some eyes and that sort of thing. And I just accustomed them to birds because that's all that I have to compare them to. And the things that I have seen in my life, that's the closest comparison I have. And when you're in these scenarios, there's never any vocal talking. It's all telepathic. And it's when there's a portal there and you're connected to it, there's an energy field, and the energy is input and output. So basically, I'm sharing energy with the person I'm connected with and the place I'm connected with, and they're sharing energy with me. So when you're in the midst of each other in those scenarios, you are transferring data back and forth, and they are too. So you're absorbing sometimes their feelings, what they know, what they're thinking. You have a good idea of the environment. It's just information that's passed on to you without even you thinking. Now, if they were able to speak, which they weren't able to speak, then I could have spoken to them. But I had a good understanding of them, and then I knew they had a good understanding of me because that energy was going back and forth and being shared. So that's, I guess, one of the things of the portals, that it allows, you really can't hide anything. Everything's out in the open. Just because I can see you doesn't mean I know you. But if that energy, that bonding between us it speaks volumes rather without having anything vocal to say.
We got about 2 minutes left. Let's sneak in Lee's question here. Could the white noise phenomena possibly be eavesdropping on astral travelers?
Let me say this on, they talk about these Akashic records. I don't know if that's the real name or whatever, but it's an etherical database. Everything around us is based in ether, whether it's on the astral or on the physical. That holds data. And we're almost like a device on a computer network. We all have our own MAC addresses, and we all release our own levels of frequencies. That information is being absorbed by this etherical database. And these beings have the ability to absorb that information as if it were data from a network hard drive. So we're constantly emitting all this. Our whole being, our whole future and our past and everything, all that is there. They can go in and pull it up as if it was something that they were breathing in. So when they don't need to eavesdrop on us, they already know everything about us. We are living in a non-organic mechanism. So everything that we output or think or feel or do, it's all recorded. So there's no such thing as secrets. There's nothing.
On that note, Mike Martin, I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, teaching us about your research into astral projection, portals, lucid dreaming. What a show. Where can people find your books?
My books are on Amazon. They're My Dark Explorations and The Spiritualist Manifesto, A Guide to Freedom. They're both on Amazon, and I also have a Rumble channel. It's called My Dark Explorations.
All right, Michael Martin, everybody. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then Courtney Marcassani is here for UFO Court, a busy hour 3 coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, my friend, big thank you. You were awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely awesome. See, when you bring the power of the mustache like you did tonight, everything turns out to be a really good show. So I appreciate that, the power of your lip blade there.
That's right, man.
You have a good
it.
one. You have a good one. We'll chat soon, okay?
Okay, talk to you later.
Take care.
You too.
I liked him. It was such a different perspective of research. It was refreshing. Didn't you think that was refreshing? I totally did. All right, I will be right back, guys. And yeah. I am back. Courtney is in the building. All right, bear with me. All right. I apologize once again for my runny nose tonight. You guys watch me blow my nose all night. Sweet Tony D, good morning. And a big thank you tonight to T-Bone ×2, Lisa, Tyrone, Chris, Sasquatch Gee, and Susan for the super chats. Very much appreciated. Here we go with hour number 3, everybody. Here we go with hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on any major podcast network as well. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. Good to have you with us tonight. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quick Quidlibit. I think that's how you say it. Quick Quidlibit is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night to say hello to Steve Stockton. He's got another creepy story for us, so let's get to it.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. When I took the job as a park ranger, now I'm not going to tell you which national park, I thought I'd signed up for what would at least be a summer of fresh air, stunning views, maybe the occasional bear, the odd lost hiker here and there. But what I didn't expect was the dark secret that other rangers shared in hushed tones around the campfire. There's things in these woods, grizzled head ranger Mike told me on my first night, things that ain't entirely human. I laughed. I assumed it was just a joke to spook the new guy. Bigfoot, feral people, some local legend to add color to the park's history. But no one else was laughing. As the weeks passed, I started to notice oddities. Tracks in the dirt that didn't quite match any animal that I knew. Eerie howls that echoed through the trees at night, raised the hairs on the back of my neck. Food going missing from secured caches. Claw marks on the boxes far too big to be from raccoons. Now, the other rangers warned me not to go out alone, especially after dark. They never explicitly said why. They deflected my questions with either uneasy silence or vague mutterings about them and the watchers in the woods. I tried to dismiss it as superstition, ranger lore passed down to keep the newbies in line. But then came the night everything changed. I was out late, tracking a reported bear sighting. The sun had long since dipped below the tree line, the shadows stretching long and dark across the forest floor. I heard a twig snap behind me. I spun around, shined my flashlight into the undergrowth. The beam caught a pair of eyes glowing in the darkness, but they weren't the eyes of a bear or a deer or any animal I'd ever seen. They were human, but not quite. Too wide, too wild, the pupils mere pinpricks in a sea of yellow. My heart nearly leaped out of my chest. I stumbled back a step as this creature emerged from the brush and stood on two legs, naked and filthy. But its proportions were all wrong. Its limbs too long, its face too angular. It stared at me, head cocked at an unnatural angle. Then it opened its mouth and screamed. The sound was like nothing I'd ever heard, a high, keening wail that seemed to pierce straight into my skull. I clapped my hands over my ears, my flashlight tumbling to the ground. Then this thing lunged. I caught a glimpse of sharp teeth, ragged nails reaching for my face, and then a gunshot cracked through the night. The creature jerked, dark fluid spraying from its chest. It crumpled to the forest floor, twitching. Mike stepped out from behind a tree, rifle in hand. "I told you not to go out alone," he said grimly. I could only gape. The shock and horror of it all had rendered me mute. I stared at the thing on the ground, its yellow eyes dulling in death. "What is it?" I finally managed to rasp. "We call them ferals," Mike had said. He prodded the body with his boot, lip curled in distaste. "Been living in these woods for generations, back since the early settlers' days. Some folks reckon they're the descendants of pioneers who went missing, lost in the wilderness. Inbred. Feral."
And thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another spooky story. We appreciate him coming on in. You could get more from his channel, Tales Untold, on YouTube right now. From the missing to the mysterious, Courtney Marcassani is here with UFO Court.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, hot off her trek down to contact in the desert, Courtney Marcassani is here for UFO Court. Lots of news going on, but first, let's find out how your vacation was down in California for Contact in the Desert.
It really wasn't a vacation at all. It was, I went down for a friend, actually. She's an experiencer who wanted to come out into the community. So I went down to basically introduce her to folks and, help her out. So the drive was just exhausting and terrible both ways. So it was not a vacation. I wish it was. I need a vacation.
You have been all over the United States the last 4 weeks. I mean, I don't know how you do it, where you find the energy or how your vehicle is putting up with the miles you're putting on, but man, you've trekked around and, you got to meet and talk to a bunch of people down at Contact in the Desert. What was that like for you?
It was really great. I didn't have any real strategic goals of like people that I wanted to meet or anything. I met Chris Bledsoe. That was probably the biggest exciting thing. He was just there nonchalantly on the first day, hanging out, and I went up and connected with him. So that was probably my best thing that I did at Contact in the Desert. He was awesome. We had communications on Facebook Messenger for the past couple of years, but to be able to meet him was great. And I was able to ask him a question that somebody asked me to ask him that he hadn't answered, yet on the Facebook instant messenger. So I got to ask him firsthand, and it was incredible. He answered the question and gave details. And so I followed up with the person who asked the question, and that was pretty amazing. And then some other amazing things happened. But I guess Jeremy Corbell was there and George Knapp, and I didn't get to meet them. But I did get to see other people. I got to see Jordan Flowers. He was there. He, I think, sponsored the whole thing last year. He was at the hearing. I met him with a couple other people when we were online. I saw a bunch of people that I know. It was just crazy. The people that I recognized and knew from over the years of going to these conferences and things. So there was just a ton of people there, and it was worth it, to see everybody in one place.
When you're at a conference that large that has close to 100 speakers and literally a couple thousand people there taking it in, what's the atmosphere like around there with people all, collectively there for the same reason, which is UFOs, alien contact, and so much more?
The first day was really great. It was very mellow. A lot of the big people that were there were just hanging out, in the conference center. But the second day, when people all got there, was just, it was a lot of people. So it ramped up. It was much more just intense, people everywhere, and that just got ramped up more and more as people arrived there. So it was pretty frenetic. You had to really know what you wanted to do. You had to be kind of strategic about it, get in and out. At the second day, I really didn't want to see a lot of people, to be honest. I just wanted to get in and out. I took a couple meetings, which was nice before I left, but I would say the energy was super high. A lot of new people there, wanting to meet all the big guns in the field. So it was a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of, I would say also like people just having fun, kicking back. Some people were enjoying the bar and whatever. I didn't really do any of that. I didn't do any of the party scene, but it was definitely a party.
Yeah, I have never been to Contact in the Desert, and mainly because I haven't been invited yet.
I was going to ask you why you haven't been invited to be a speaker. Katie Page, who you were friends with, she was there. A bunch of people who you were friends with were there. So I'm wondering why you weren't a speaker.
You know what? I think it's because we're consistent. We're not too flashy. We're not flashy enough. We're always there. We're always responsible. We're always respectful. We're not causing a lot of controversy. We're not breaking a lot of news. I think people just look at us as the consistent show. And when you have a lot, there's not many bigger shows than us out there, but when you have all the hosts of those bigger shows there, you kind of get forgotten. And I've talked to owner Ron Janix about it, and he was kind of upset that we weren't coming. And he goes, "Well, how come you've never come?" I said, "Because Ron, we've never been invited." He goes, "Well, you're invited now." And he goes, "Come this year." And I'm like, "Well, it's already too late. We've got plans." And he's like, "Well, next year you got to be here." So I think next year we're going to make a trek down to Contact in the Desert for sure.
Well, you should be invited on the fact that, we broke the Jason Sand story. You should have been invited on that fact alone. I mean, they should have found a way to have you be there to be talking about that, because that was one of the biggest stories this year. I think it will be one of the biggest stories this year. It's one of the historic, I think, biggest stories that will have happened in terms of disclosure and the way it was done. So the fact that you weren't included on that alone is, I think, a major insult. But what do I know?
You know what's insultive is when you go to a conference and you're the only guy there with media experience in the mainstream media, and you're not even asked to participate in the media panel. That's what I find funny. Yeah, that was in 2019 in Toronto, but I'm still thankful I got invited, which is cool. Wait,
you just got invited to what? Attend or to be there as a speaker?
No, I was there as a speaker.
Okay.
So no, it was cool. It was cool. But yeah, next year I think we're gonna move the fan party into the fall, and then so that way more people. I know a lot of people are like wanting us to go down to Contact in the Desert next year. So we're gonna try that. We're gonna do that. So, speaking of other UFO news, there's another UFO group that has come out. Did you hear about this, Courtney?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, who hasn't, right?
It
The
involves,
UFO for Disclosure Fund.
yes. Let's talk
UAP.
about UFO or the UAP Disclosure Fund. What do we know about it? We know that Lou Elizondo is on the board of directors. We know Gary Nolan and Chris Mellon are part of the directors. And an interesting former guest of ours is on that board of directors in Matt Ford from the Good Trouble Show, who has ties to the Democratic Party in the United States. And I'm just curious your thoughts about this group.
I think that the community is skeptical. That's what I think. I think that there are people that are cheering and excited about this, that they're taking a step. They obviously registered as a 501c4, which means they're eligible to do lobbying and to receive money for lobbying Congress. So it's a very specific designation that they filed under. They didn't file under a 501c3. So that means it's political. It'll be a political organization on some level.
Are you surprised with some of the positions that people were asked to fill? Because I would expect a group like that to be a little bit more prominent outside of Elizondo, Nolan, and Mellon. What's your thoughts? And I don't say that to be insultive to the rest of the board, but they're not very familiar.
Who's not familiar?
Let me bring up the group here.
Because everybody knows Lou Elizondo and Gary Nolan and Matt Ford in our community.
Well, I mean, to the remainder of the community, I mean, we've never really heard of their CFO, their chief financial officer.
Is that Duckworth?
I'm bringing it up as we speak.
I think you're talking about Duckworth.
Yes. Let's see here. I'm bringing up the group. Where is your picture here? Oh, I hate being put on the spot when I'm not prepared. Let me just... Bad radio host. Bad radio host. Let me find it this way.
Yeah, so I'm just going to comment on that because welcome to the show. I already brought it up. So TTSA, I think people are really skeptical because of the TTSA connections. Lou was involved with TTSA. That was their big coming out when he left, official service and ATIP, all that, and brought, private industry essentially, with Lockheed and, Justice and Mellon and Hal Puthoff and all these, best of the best people together to establish an organization that would develop technology outside of the government. And that was one of their goals. And money was invested and nothing came of it, and they're keeping the entertainment arm of TTSA going, but all the technology stuff just kind of dissolved. So I think people are skeptical on those grounds as well, that there was already an organization that was established that Lou was connected to. And this new one, I think people are just, they've seen this before. So I think there is a little bit of jadedness in the community. Now, outside of the community, I don't know what people think or what they're going to think. I think the way they formulated it will allow them to receive money from big pocket donors. I think that's the end goal, to get into Congress.
Absolutely. And, there has been rumors, whether they're true or not, we don't know. But there had been rumors that Lou Elizondo was actually thinking of running for office in order to help create more interest in the UFO story. Have you heard any more about that?
Oh, everybody's talking about that. Everybody's saying he's going to run for something, and maybe not immediately because the election's coming up and it's too soon. I have heard that some people think that he might get an appointment underneath a new administration as a UAP like intelligence lead potentially. But I don't know that. This is all just people's opinion. The other thing I've heard is that maybe he'll take a run in a couple years, and that this organization is being established so he can get political and get a political track record leading up into the midterm elections. So I don't know. They're just theories, but yeah, everybody's talking about it. Absolutely.
The one thing that, and I've talked to a couple of people about this, that kind of catches my eye is all of these groups that are out there seem to be intertwined with one or two people that are in multiple different groups. And to me, it's almost like spider webbing their cause. So that way, no matter what, that they and their colleagues get a part of what's going on. I mean, if you take Gary Nolan, and I don't mean this to spite Gary Nolan, the incredibly brilliant professor and doctor from Stanford University, who's done some incredible studies, not only on helping humanity learn more about the brain and neurology, but also with how UFOs and UAP and people who've been contacted or abducted have reacted to this. He's done immaculate work. I mean, let's face it. But you look at him, he's in group after group after group. He started the Soul Foundation. He's part of the Galileo Project. There's a couple other groups that he's involved with, and they just seem to intertwine like a spider web. You notice that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he's the foremost expert on, the biological stuff. And, it all started with him in the Atacama bodies. That's the really crazy thing, that he came out of it from this really left field, almost like really fakey kind of way to come into it, with the anthropological stuff, looking at the mummies. So to see where he went, where he started and where he is now, it's pretty incredible, to see his journey in a fairly short amount of time. So I think it makes a lot of sense, because when you're an expert in those different areas, you're in demand. And plus, he did that whole atomic imaging study on all the metamaterials for the Soul Foundation, and did that whole presentation. So he's getting into other fields now too, and using advanced technology in his lab to do it. So I'm not surprised that he's involved with as many things as he is, being a foremost expert that he is.
Is that concerning for you? And it's not just him, but I mean, you look at scientist Dr. Rich Hoffman. He's in about 5 different UFO groups. You look at Alex Dietrich, the former fighter pilot. She's in a number of groups. It just seems like they're all kind of tying together these knots of brilliant people. So that way, it's almost like they're trying to cornerstone the market. You know what I'm saying?
I don't look at it that way. Not so much. I think that when you're probably a rocket scientist and you're an expert at rocket engineering, you're going to be involved with multiple programs or multiple kinds of technologies or advancements, because you're on the cutting edge. As for Rich Hoffman, I'm not exactly sure what affiliations or what groups he is. I know he's at SCU. But that's all I really know about Rich Hoffman. I'm not sure of his affiliations into multiple groups. But if you look at somebody like Chris Mellon, who used to be so highly placed in the government, it would make sense that he would be in these various groups, because he has all that experience with the Secretary of Defense. So I'm not as I don't know, concerned about some of that, because I think those people have specialized experience that would require them to be in different groups to help out and lend support.
Well, we got 30 seconds to go here. And, when we return from the break, I want to ask you a little bit of a story about, remember that alien in Las Vegas at the
Yeah,
People's
the
House?
kid in the background in the backyard.
That story is not going away. And
I saw that.
in fact, it might be peer reviewed here very soon. As weird as that sounds, as the media continues to check up on that story. And we'll get to anything else Courtney wants to chat about as the next half hour of Spaced Out Radio's UFO Court continues with myself, Dave Scott, Courtney Marcassani, our resident UFO genius. We will be right back.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. It's good times. This is good times.
Welcome to the show, says the business portfolios of these companies are highly questionable. Well, put in the chat which parts of the businesses, that would be important to know. I don't go in to look at all the business profiles of different organizations. So I guess it depends on which ones you're talking about and what you think is questionable. Right?
Yep, I agree. Sasquatch Gee, thank you for adding to the super chat again tonight. Appreciate that. Whoopoo, how you doing? I'll be so happy when this case of the sniffles goes away. That is for sure. You look tired, Court.
I am tired, but that's okay.
Me too. Me too.
So I saw you're doing some changes with SOR. What's going on with that? You're just mixing stuff up, or?
Well, I'm not doing any changes really. Like, we're not changing programming or anything like that. We're adding I'm not sure if you met in Reno, Lee Strauss and Jackie Harmon. They were there. And
Were they wearing the Bigfoot shirts with the sunset on them and the?
yes.
Yeah, I met them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be starting a 1-hour show on our channel about an hour before my show on Fridays, starting in a couple of weeks. So that's kind of new. Hi, Scan Man. How you doing? And what else are we looking at? Just trying to formulate a proper direction of where we're going to go, because everybody's hammering the UFO news, and I'm frustrated by it. I'm very frustrated by it. And it's, I think I want to go back to my roots a little bit. Like, we'll still do the hard UFO news. We'll still do this segment and everything like that. But I think I really want to get more stories in, more stories from people. I love people's encounters, and especially those firsthand encounters. They are amazing. And that's kind of what I want to do. I really like telling people stories and allowing them, because I think, to get that emotional reaction on what's going on, I think is great for radio.
Yeah, I think that the news is probably not as important as the experiences, to be honest.
Me too. And
I never would have done the news had you not asked me to fill the slot. But when you asked me to take that on, I took it on seriously.
And you've kicked ass with it, dude. You've totally kicked ass with it. Just putting that up. So
there's a lot of cold recovery in the chat tonight for you, Dave. So we got to go back and look, and including nettle, one of my favorite herbs, which I collect freshly in the springtime.
Oh, nice.
Get your nettle.
Yeah, I feel my brain feels really foggy today too.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have to do the news tonight. You could have begged off because you weren't feeling well.
Nope, can't do it. I'm taking a night off next week in order to go to my daughter's college graduation, which I'm all excited about. I'm probably going to cry. I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to cry.
There's nothing wrong with crying. Why do all you guys get hung up about crying at graduations and marriages and stuff? I really don't see what the big deal is. Let it
Hold
out,
on.
man. Let it out.
Here we go. Here we go. I will. I promise you. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this great planet we call Earth. Hey, want to remind you that if you miss most of this show or others, did you know our archives are always free? You can do that at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio or on any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Courtney Marcassani, UFO Court, continuing on. And there's this story out of Vegas. It originally broke a number of months ago where this family claimed to shoot a video of aliens walking through their yard. Now, the video has gone viral, been seen millions of times, and I've watched this video, and I'll be blunt, Courtney, I don't see the aliens. I really don't. But Scott Roeder, who has testified as an expert in some of the most highly publicized criminal cases in the world, has broken down a video of the reported alien sighting in Las Vegas frame by frame. In 1 second of real time, there are 30 frames that show a head with smoke around it, which Roeder called some sort of cloaking device, moving into the top right corner of the video and peering over the fence. He says, I applied the same principles that I would apply to any kind of homicide investigation. Roeder, who testified in cases like Oscar Pistorius' murder trial, at this particular time with what we've seen here is proof of a couple of things, that these entities are real. They're here on the video. This is not fake. This is not fraud. What's your thoughts with this, Courtney?
I never saw the alien either on the original. I mean, I saw some movement by the fence, in the original video, but I never really saw the being. So I was skeptical, I think as a lot of people were, but with these new techniques, maybe this guy has something that we don't, that he's able to slow it down and track it back or whatever. But I'm still skeptical about it. I mean, I think that it was hyped up. There was that the family was obviously really freaked out. The boys were, but a lot of people said that it was a scam, that it was a prank of some kind. So I kind of went with the fact that it was a prank, but maybe it wasn't. Who knows? I can't really say definitively either way because, I only saw the original video and I didn't see much. So
yeah,
I don't have an opinion.
I just really do not see it. I really do not see what they are looking at. And I've gone over this video. I've paused it where they said I'm supposed to look. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying I don't see it. And I don't know if I would put my career on that video as there being aliens in that area. So, I mean, I think that it's interesting. I think that there's a possibility of it being real. I mean, this Scott Roeder, obviously, pretty smart guy, testifying as a professional in what he does, but I'm just not seeing it at all. And I'm a little upset about this because I like good woo like this, Courtney. I really do.
I think that it's hard to capture this kind of stuff on film when it's a being or there's light involved or there's electromagnetic stuff that's possibly involved with it. I think all those things make it really hard to get a good film or get a good picture. So I'm not saying that there isn't something there. I just haven't seen it. And so, and with the hype around it, it kind of falls into the mummy category for me where I put
Yes.
things. And maybe that's me being prejudiced against certain things, but when there's a certain aura around an investigation and things, it kind of goes, you can feel it going one or two ways. And so I did think at some point some of that was discredited, but maybe I was wrong. So I'll keep an open mind as they look into it.
I'm willing to as well. We're going to see where it goes. I did do something funny that you would enjoy. So Enigma Labs, you know how they've been really close to us at Spaced Out Radio. We love Enigma Labs around here.
I know
Please.
some bad stuff about them, so I'm gonna have to chat with you off channel at some
Yes.
point.
Please note the sarcasm when I
I
say
know.
that.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
They put out a tweet today basically saying, "Hey, Canada, report your UAP videos to us." And I sent out a tweet, "Please stay out of Canada." In my most Canadian way. Can you please stay out of Canada? We don't need you. That was one of 3 tweets on their thread. 3.
Well, they have followed people around, leaders in the field. They've propositioned people with, money and jobs and, to take the best and the brightest in the field. And, and not necessarily keep them. Sometimes that strategy is just to get them to come in and get what they know, or maybe to develop something. And then, how long are they going to have a job there? So I've learned more and more about Enigma over the past 4 months. And I have to say, not impressed. So if I was a Canadian, I wouldn't want Enigma in my country either, to be honestly. They're not always above board on what they're doing.
Well, you know what? I haven't been a fan since day one. To me, they seem very untrustworthy. If I've seen a UFO, there is no way that I'm reporting it to watch my report, my private information get handed over to the U.S. government. Don't need that. And I find that very interesting. Another story that's interesting, Courtney, is that in Japan, they are setting up a UFO office, and it is to conduct studies into the threat narrative that UFOs may be causing over Japanese skies, and especially hotspots like around Mount Fuji, which makes sense because if you look on the West Coast here, there's a lot of volcanoes, and those volcanoes seem to have a lot of UFO sightings from Mount Shasta right on up to Alaska.
Well, and Japan also had Fukushima, right? They had
Absolutely.
the big nuclear issue, and we know that UFOs do wind up around nuclear things. So, yeah, I actually posted that. I posted that out to X a couple of days ago, and then I saw Keith Basterfield followed up on it and said that he had done some work on it. So if people are interested on the Japan government connection and looking into UFOs, I guess Keith wrote an article about it, about the history of it. So that's something that's out there, as well as the new soundbite from the Japanese government that they've established it. I don't know anything more about that office. I'd be interested in learning more as they develop it.
Absolutely, me too. But one of the things that I was very interested in, and I brought this on when Walter Sterling had me on his national program last night, is going with the threat narrative. We've seen a lot of American allies, such as Canada, the UK, and others, really start to look at the scientific side of the UFO/UAP phenomena. But Japan goes right with the States. It's all about a threat narrative. And it's funny, they didn't mention drones. They didn't mention China. They didn't mention Russia as security threats for this field. It was all about drone UFOs/UAP. So I'm curious your thoughts on Japan taking the threat narrative aspect of this all rather than looking into what the other countries and other allies are doing more so on a scientific level.
Well, we don't know what they have. Every country probably has their own documents and UFO history. So maybe it's coming out of their own studies, and maybe because not everybody has the same UFO experience or encounter, and in some areas, maybe there are different experiences more often. So time will tell, what they have. And who knows? Who knows why they're taking the threat narrative? I think that, in the US, there is predominantly a threat narrative because of the way the UFOs show up over military installations, and that could be very much seen as threatening. So maybe they're taking the US's lead.
I'm still baffled by that, considering that as of right now, there is no threat according to some countries, and that we do know more so in the U.S. that the threat narrative has been more to start creating budgets and conversation in Washington D.C. So I'm surprised Japan would do that. I really am, to be blunt, not to beat a dead horse there, but I find it very entertaining and to see how they're going to go along with that.
Well, maybe they're following the US playbook and they want to get a budget established.
Could be that simple. Could be that simple. All right. What else have you been working on?
I've been trying to follow up on the archive stuff that's happening with the national records on the UFOs. There's a deadline coming up for that in October. And so I've been real curious about the archival process, if there is anybody working on it. Danny Sheehan has mentioned it in his talks numerous times that the deadline is coming and that, they're supposed to release all these documents. So that's something I'm just tracking. I'm wondering how it's going. And I hadn't heard really much of anything about, what's going on with it. But I did have a really great call today, in the Washington circles, that they are working on it. It's kind of understaffed, but they do have archivists working on things, but it's going to take more time. It's also going to take somebody in leadership helping them connect the program aspect, the different programs and how they might be connected. But it is ongoing and it's happening. So that's really good news.
The purpose of that, in order to get more news out, how is it going to affect the story? How is it going to grow it?
Well, it's the old documents. It could be MJ12 documents. I mean, it's all part of the NDAA and it's required. It was the one mandate that was required that was actually kept in the damn NDAA. So that's the important part that we got. So I'm just following up on it, hoping it's being done right by the right people who know history and who know about MJ12 like programs that have been going on in the past to get those documents out. I mean, it would be wonderful if we could get actual documentation, real documents of MJ12 or other programs like it, like Zodiac that we've heard about, or the Project Blue documents that have been classified that could really come out for the first time. So that is what it would do for the news. It would allow people to have legitimate documents to show that there has been UFOs. I think that would be pretty important.
Well, we're going to find that to be very interesting indeed as we go further. Hey, I want to get your comment on one story here. It's been a little controversial on X, and that goes with reporter Stephen Greenstreet from the New York Post, who has been posting stories about Tim Gallaudet, the former Navy, was he an admiral? Rear Admiral?
Yeah.
And his wife or daughter going on the Dead Files paranormal television show and admitting that she's a psychic. She could talk to dead people. Well, Green Street seems to be eating that all up, that, he can't believe that her own father and mother are supporting this travesty of mental illness, pretty much is what he's saying. I'm very curious your thoughts on that.
Oh, I just think it's a smear tactic. He's trying to throw mud, saying, "Hey, look, the wife's a psychic. They're channelers or mediums or whatever." Because what a great way to smear somebody by saying they're charlatans, right? That's a classic thing in the world of psychic phenomenon and psychics and mediumship and channelers. So, and yes, I do think that there are people out there that aren't legitimate. But it's just a cheap shot. It's a cheap way to take personal information that was out there on the internet, that he found and use it against him. So it just goes to show how hard it is for people to come out and be legitimate and maintain legitimacy when you have somebody taking a shot at your wife and your child. A pretty low blow. But a lot of people have defended it and said, well, Gallaudet should have known that, this was out there and it was going to be used against him. But, people have a right to live their lives too. And so I just think it's a cheap shot.
Yeah, I see it as a cheap shot as well. I don't see that as being any type of professional reporting. I think he's just, being Stephen Greenstreet and trying to stir the pot because, let's face it, I think he's more of a journalistic troll than he is actually somebody breaking news in this field, and he seems to be very proud of it. So anytime he gets an inch, he's going to take it a mile. It's not something that I agree with, but if that's his shtick and it's public information, unfortunately, he's more than allowed to do that.
He put up Brandon Frugal's information about, Sean Kilpatrick being in the room during one of those briefings, and that all of his computer stuff, all of his files were taken out of his hotel room that night. That was big news for him that he covered. Yet he has thrown him, Brandon, under the bus so many times before. So I, when I saw that happen, I thought, wow, what an about face. Right? Like if he gets something good and juicy that he wants to use, then that person, he'll accept them as a source, but completely discredit them the whole rest of the time. So it's very inconsistent. It gives you whiplash. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by it. He works for the Post. So, that's not a top tier organization in the country here in the US. People who read that, are looking for offbeat stories typically. So he's found his niche in that market.
Well, let's go to a question here from one of our new listeners. Hi, David Courtney. It's from Dark Mountain Ambience, and welcome to the show, as we encourage anybody listening on our terrestrial affiliates as well to come listen to the show on our YouTube channel where you can participate in the chat. Relatively new to the channel, but digging it. Wondering what got you guys into researching and discussing these high strangeness accounts. I know it's a noob question. Sorry. No, there's no bad questions here.
You can take that, Dave.
I got into this as a former journalist in mainstream media. I retired from radio because I wanted to say I retired. It sounds better than quit. In 2007. And then in 2011, I started having my own experiences that I could not understand. Ended up starting this show in 2014 because I wasn't finding the answers that I needed. So here we are almost 10 years later. And now me and Courtney battle hairstyles 3 nights a week. How about you, Court?
Oh, everybody kind of knows my story. I'll just recap it. I was not into these subjects about UFOs. I was far from it. Although I did research psychic phenomenon because I had psychic experiences way long before I got into, encounters and UFO stuff. That happened in 2015. And I've told my story a couple times. You can maybe go back and find it, but it was in a close encounter experience with my daughter when I was taking her to college. And the lights came down and hovered over us, paced us. There was high strangeness included. So that's what started my journey on understanding UFOs and UAPs and high strangeness associated with them.
Do you ever regret getting into this field?
Yes. Oh, God, yes. Every day. Pretty much every day.
For people who may not understand that, because you have people who have interest, then you have people who are doing the deep dive. I would consider you, me, many others who've been on this show doing the deep dive. What do you love about it? In about a minute here, what do you love about it? What don't you like?
What I really don't like about it is the levels of deception that are just overlaid over everything that you have to dig through relentlessly. And it's so you just have to be tireless, and checking facts, going to different people, checking sources, reading through multiple sources. A lot of my early time just spent on researching multiple sources just to do fact checking. So that's the greatest downfall, I think, of the UFO world.
Well, Courtney, I think personally that you are one of the hardest working and people out there doing your due diligence to try and get to the truth of this matter and bring the truth to the public. There are very few people doing what you do, and you definitely need to be highly commended for your hard work. I know it's tough. I know it's emotional. I know it's draining, but you're getting there. And you're pedaling that bike as fast as you can to try and get the information out. And we're very thankful to have you here on Spaced Out Radio because of that.
Well, that's all I have is my pedal power, because when you're going against organizations like Enigma.
Yes, thank you, Courtney Marcassani. Hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. The seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Another great episode of UFO Court with Courtney Marcassani. That's why you're awesome.
It's good to be back.
What's that?
I said it's good to be back.
Yes. Yes, it is. We are blessed to have you.
Well, my schedule's just been insane, so I'm sorry.
When are you going home?
Things are just developing. It's hard to say. I don't know yet. There's a couple of things that have come up last minute, UFO related.
Uh-huh.
So I probably have to follow that before I go back.
Well, as Roxette once sang, listen to your heart when it's calling for you.
Oh, God.
Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you could do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why. Listen to your heart as the UFOs fly by.
Great 90s call out.
Thank you. Thank you.
I lived through it, so I knew immediately which Roxette you were. She only
I
had, like,
loved Roxette, man.
I liked her first one.
I know. God bless her. She passed away from cancer.
Did
couple of
she?
years ago. Yeah.
She's got the look. That's the one I remember.
The look, dangerous. Listen to your heart. It's a
Yeah.
good tune.
Listen to Your Heart was a great one.
Yeah. That was very good.
Well, you need to get to bed, and so do I, so I won't be the one keeping you up.
No, I'm just getting ready to do my quick edit here of the show, and then I'm going straight to bed because I am worn out.
Is it going to be a vapor rub night? You remember when we used to rub vapor rub on ourselves?
I'm out. I'm totally out. Otherwise, I'd be totally Vic'd up right now. I love Vic's Vapor Rub. Love Vic's Vapor Rub. I should be a title sponsor for them because I swear that stuff works like anything.
You're a big fan. Big fan.
Big fan. And
I'm glad I asked. I'm glad we know.
Yep, I'm a big fan. Big fan. Court, you have a great night. Will we talk to you on Wednesday?
Yeah, somebody was asking about where they can hear my story. You can check it out on Engaging the Phenomenon with, well, it was in 2021, I think. You can hear my story there. You can also hear it on UAP Medical Coalition and the testimonials. I did a testimonial for them as well. So I was thinking, Julie said that I had done a testimonial for you, Dave, on Spaced Out Radio, but I don't remember that.
Yeah, if you go back in our archives, before you started the report, we brought you on as a guest. And you told your story.
I did. Okay. Well, you can find it on SOR then, too, in the archives.
Very cool. Very cool.
Just don't get it on your balls. Yeah, you don't want to get the Vicks Vapor Rug on your balls.
You know what? I honestly, I'm just going to tell you right now, I have done that, and it's not very comfortable. It's a burning cold sensation that doesn't go away for a long time.
Oh, my God. I can't even imagine how painful that would be.
Yep. I've done some stupid things like that. Like, I remember one time I had eaten some hot sauce, like some hot, like extremely hot wings, and I forgot to wash my hands, and I rubbed my eyes, and I rubbed my right eye, and I was driving because, you know, like I had an itch like right here.
Oh, dear God.
And I guess I had some hot sauce on my pinky, and oh my goodness, my eye. I've done some stupid things like that, like going for an itch and having Vicks Vapor Rub on your fingers. Yep.
You're not right. You know that? You are not right, man.
It happens. It happens.
I've heard some crazy locker room talk, but you know, that's that's.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. It's happened. Yes, I've accidentally done that. Not fun. Not fun.
Oh God, dear Lord. Well,
the worst one. This is true. The worst one was when I played baseball, or slow pitch. I used to play really competitive slow pitch in our town. We had a really good solid league, and
men's or 50-50. I have to ask.
Men's.
Okay.
And one time I had a groin injury, and I made the stupid mistake because we were short players and due to injury, and I had to play, and I made the mistake of rubbing Tiger Balm on it, and I didn't wrap it up.
That's not right. God almighty.
Well, what's not right was the burning sensation on my bagels for the next couple hours, right?
Harsh.
That was not fun.
Well, I've had cooking stuff that I got hurt by because I was an idiot, like working with peppers without gloves. I never
Yeah.
have used gloves, never will. Peppers and then touching your eyes or your face and then that having that burning for hours is probably similar, but not nearly as bad as what
Yeah,
getting,
Tiger Bomb is not
atomic bomb or whatever on your balls. I mean, that's
Yeah.
whew, that takes it to another level.
I hear you. It's not fun. It's not fun at all.
No. So
Yeah.
words to live by, good advice, good wisdom.
This is why we listen to this show or we broadcast this show is to educate people. Don't rub Tiger Bomb on your balls, people.
Homespun wisdom. Oh God. All right. Well, with that, I am going to sign off. That was a good one.
All right.
Very well
Final
done.
comment before you go goes to Belief Hole Podcast. Oof. Yes. Try hitting the urinal after accidental jalapeno peppers handling.
Oh,
Never forget. I feel for you.
God.
I feel for you.
That is
Never forget.
that is just insidious. Yeah.
Oh, I got one
With the
funny
pee-pee hole and whatnot. I mean, I don't even want to think about that. Oh my God.
So I got one funny story for you before you leave, because I know you like a good story. Totally not.
I do like a good story.
Totally not related to this show.
Okay.
My son challenged me to a hockey game where we play with the little hockey sticks. They're about this big, and we got a little foam puck. So I figured I'd rough him up a little bit, give him a couple cross checks, whatever, try to rough him up. While playing the puck, he slashed me in the bare feet with his stick 5 times. My toes are still killing me. And I'm like, you little bastard. I said, that's a penalty, man. He's like, ref didn't see it. Well, of course, we don't have a referee. He beat me 5-4.
Whoa. So do you think it was a cheap shot or do you think it was
accidental?
Absolutely do you think he was like, I'm going to take dad down?
Yeah, absolutely it was, a little jerk. I'm telling you right now, like even we played today before the game. He beat me 3-2. Okay. Cheap shot at me again. And I'm telling you, we're gonna drop the gloves.
Don't you have any tactics to like block or defend against him when he does that stuff? I mean, fool you once, but he did it a second time. I mean, can you put him
back? I elbowed him. I tripped him. What more am I supposed to do?
Wrestle him down to the ground if you have to, Dave. Show him you're the boss. I mean, come on, man. You're old school.
Yeah, I'm old school, but I'm gonna get revenge on him. I'm gonna get revenge.
You could always use the old tiger bomb trick if you needed to. Like, does he wear a jock?
Well, I tell you, next time he slashes me in the foot, right in the toes, on bare feet, I tell you, I'm gonna slash him back. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna slash him back.
Did you watch the 30 for 30 that I told you about the Boston team yet?
I haven't watched that yet. No.
Oh, you got to watch it. I'll leave you with that. Just put it on your list. Make sure you check it out. Don't forget that one. It's good. You'll like it.
Courtney, you're amazing. Thank you for everything. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
I will see you Wednesday. Bye.
Bye. Courtney Marcassani, everybody. I will slash him back. For people who out there who say that's bad parenting, it's hockey. It's hockey. Now, of course, I'm not going to slash him to hurt him, but I'll let him know. I'll let him know who's the boss. Problem is he retaliates, and then he beats me. Yeah. And then I feel shame. Yeah. I'll get him though. I will get him. By the way, just a recap of tonight's show. Mike Martin, our guest, how awesome was he? Loved the topic. Give Dirty Filth a little clap for another good guest. Right? Another good guest by Dirty Filth. That's why we love him around here. You know, not just for his outspoken and out-flaring chest hair. It's not about the cartoon, not about Blob. It's because of the guests he books for us. Man, does he do a great job. Really does. Yep. And yeah, I like that. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So, hold on a second here. Who's on tomorrow night? Let's take a look. Tomorrow night on the show, Geraldine Orozco returns for The Spiritual You. Mike Stevens on Wednesday with his alien encounters. Amanda DeMarco Thursday about, I forget what we're talking about with her. Elevating consciousness. And then our Keith Andrews on Friday. What a great week. Fantastic week. Hero, how you doing? All right. Thank you tonight to Dark Mountain. Appreciate the super chat. Moody Mongol, Sasquatch Gee ×2, T-Bone ×2, Chris, Tyrone, Susan, and Lisa. Very much appreciate it. Don't forget, if you missed any part of this show, head on over to our free podcasts or YouTube. It's right there for you. I'm going to say goodnight because I'm not feeling well. I'm just going to hurry this up and go do my thing. But you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, everybody. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. See you tomorrow. We love you. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.